Chapter 317. Let's borrow some spirit stones. Friend Jiang, it's been a long time. Gu Wen greeted Jiang Hao with a smile. They were indeed lucky. They should have come here much earlier. When they reached the area where the previous mine used to be, they found the land completely transformed. There was no mine in sight. After some exploration, they discovered an enlightenment spring. With their accumulated experiences, they finally advanced to the golden core realm when they stepped into it. After refining their cultivation, they hurried to the second mine. As expected, they found Jiang Hao there. Now that they had achieved the golden core realm, they could continue with their previous arrangement. Both of you have advanced. That's great to see, Jiang Hao said politely. We owe it to you, friend Jiang. Ding Yu glanced at the surrounding items. Shall we continue with the previous arrangement? Indeed, they owed their success to Jiang Hao. Without him, they wouldn't have returned, nor would they have encountered the enlightenment spring. Sure. Jiang Hao nodded. Then we'll continue to sell the ores outside and search for spirit herbs. Should we leave the management of this place to you, friend? Gu Wen asked. Jiang Hao had no objections. Now that they had all successfully reached the golden core realm, they wouldn't leave the group unexpectedly. They also didn't have to fear that someone would hog the spirit herbs if they chose to leave. It was good to have someone sell the ores. At present, Jiang Hao had only 20,000 spirit stones left. It was quite troublesome to sell the ores he had mined for so long. If he deducted 10,000 for the tea, he was left with only 10,000 spirit stones more. Ding Yu looked around but didn't find Shang'an. He asked, "Where is the senior?" "He left," Jiang Hao said. They nodded. They wondered if Shang'an had succeeded in his plan. After all, they had heard with their own ears that failure would mean being trapped here forever. Aren't you going out to seek opportunities, friend Jiang? Gu Wen asked curiously. Seeking out opportunities after reaching the late stage of the foundation. Establishment realm meant a high probability of advancing to the next realm. Jiang Hao shook his head. Mining suited him best. On the other side of the corpse realm, in the primordial spirit region, Yunqi and Lan Chen once again approached Heavenly Steel Mountain. They stood before the 6-stone tablet. The extraordinary genius seems to be absent again, Yunqi said in surprise. I don't understand. Lan Chen shook her head. The genius was already here, so why wouldn't they come to Heavenly Steel Mountain? Was there something else more important than this mountain? That seemed unlikely. At this moment, the stone tablet in front of them suddenly lit up and then quickly returned to normal. What's happening? Yunqi asked in confusion. I don't know, Lan Chen shook her head. It suddenly lit up as if calling or responding to something, but why did it disappear instantly? Has this happened before? Yunqi asked. Never. The opening of the corpse realm was different place seemed strange. Heavenly Steel Mountain had increased stone tablet even glowed for an instant. Lan Chen Ku caused such changes. Time passed quickly. After the incident in the blood-tide forest, many people arrived in the Foundation establishment region. They were mostly in the Golden Core realm. This was a good thing. It was easier for Jiang Hao's group to sell their ores. They could even sell many spirit herbs. They managed to earn a few spirit stones. Midway through, Zhuge Jing requested to join them, followed by Xia Dong and Murong Qingqing. There was a change in the division of their earnings once more. Previously, the earnings were divided equally between 3 people, but now there were 6 of them. Jiang Hao suggested dividing them equally. They unanimously agreed with his suggestion. They didn't exploit those in the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm just because they had advanced to the Golden Core realm. In just 1 month, they had sold a lot of ores, and their spirit stones earnings increased from 20,000 to 30,000. Only 4 months had passed. The corpse realm would be open for a year, so earning another 20,000 spirit stones seemed possible. Jiang Hao thought about how he would spend them. The awakening of the bloodline of the spirit beast would cost him 24,000 spirit stones, the peach tree would cost around 20,000, and the red azure tea would cost him 10,000 spirit stones. That added up to 54,000. Jiang Hao sighed. He was still short of his goal by a lot. He shouldered his hoe and continued to mine. Soon he received another summons. He ignored it. Meanwhile, Zhuge Jing and the others sat together. Why does he keep mining every day? If there is a mine he goes in to dig without missing a single day. Is mining that fun? Murong Qingqing couldn't understand. When they first met Jiang Hao, he suggested finding a mine. Maybe he was too poor in his sect? Xia Dong suggested. Everyone nodded. That seemed to make sense. Otherwise, why would someone be so crazy about mining? Earning thousands of spirit stones upon entering the corpse realm must have been a revelation for Jiang Hao. Lately, someone has been watching us, Zhu Gejing said. I noticed that too. The 5 of us in the Golden Core realm may not be enough for defense. However, the array here must have been left behind by the senior. Although it's ordinary, it can still deter others. Moreover, they have backers, but we're not lacking in support either. We even have disciple Zhu Gejing from the Mountain Sword Sea sect. Guwen smiled. Ding Yu nodded. I've set up many traps nearby. The appearance of the Enlightenment Spring will attract attention, so we're safer here. I'm just afraid that someone above the Golden Core realm will appear here. I don't think I will be able to use my sect's authority to threaten them, said Zhu Gejing. Guwen sighed. If Senior Shang'an was still here, they wouldn't need to worry about all this. It had been truly great. Outside the blood-tide forest, 2 figures descended from the sky. One was dressed in a white gown with a white belt around her waist. There was a white feather in her hair, which was tied up in a bun. We're here, she said in a soft voice. She smiled faintly. Junior Sister Yi, the location you mentioned is here in the Foundation Establishment region? How can there be so many spirit stones here? A man dressed in black robes landed beside her. Senior Brother Mo, do you not believe me? I heard about it on my way here. If he didn't deceive me, then it's true. They say that this place has several Foundation Establishment or Golden Core Realm cultivators working together to sell ores. They used to sell to the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators, but now they sell to the Golden Core Realm cultivators as well. I also heard that the Enlightenment Spring appeared here, so there will definitely be Primordial Spirit Realm cultivators arriving soon. Can Golden Core Realm guard against them? Look at it this way, we're helping them. By the way, they say that they are selling the ores and herbs at a low price and have almost collected all the spirit stones from the surrounding people. If that's the case, they shouldn't mind us borrowing some, Mo Tian said with a smile. We need them urgently. Borrowing is fine. We'll return them later. We're not the type who don't return favors, she said solemnly. The 2 of them headed deeper into the forest. What if others in the primordial spirit realm reach them quicker than us? Asked Mo Tian. It doesn't matter even if they are faster. Yi Luo smiled sweetly. Not everyone is as perfect in their cultivation as you, senior brother. You are at the peak of the primordial spirit realm. I just advanced recently, so my cultivation is not stable. If you hadn't come to find me, I would still be refining my cultivation. But even so, my cultivation is already beyond the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. In that case, there's nothing to worry about. No one above the primordial spirit realm will come for us, said Yi Luo. Chapter 318, The Formidable Opponents. Jiang Hao had been in the mine for a few days. The harvest was quite good. It had been exactly 5 months since he entered the corpse realm. It was already June 15th. In these 5 months he earned 30,000 spirit stones and obtained numerous ores and several spirit herbs. I wonder when I'll be able to dig up a valuable piece of ore. Jiang Hao paused and looked at his interface. The numbers are only half of what I need. I only get 4 or 5 bubbles on average each month. Jiang Hao felt that it was still okay. After all, he hadn't mined for half a month after the whole debacle. Otherwise he would have obtained more bubbles. He managed to barely keep up with the growth of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Moreover, he gained an additional 30,000 spirit stones. Entering the corpse realm proved to be fruitful. Next, he would have to find out if he could find someone who sold the red azure tea in this place. He had already asked Gu Wen and the others to help look for it. If someone had it, they would definitely sell it. Especially since everything was sold at a lower price here. People could buy ores and herbs and sell them when they returned to their sect. Even if they had to sell the tea at a lower price, they would still earn 1,000 or 2,000 spirit stones as profit. They could earn 3,000 or 4,000 if the ore prices were pushed even lower. Recently they sold a lot of ores that way. Gu Wen and the others used the spirit stones to buy treasures and pills at market prices. The other buyers would then keep the ores and sell them at higher prices. It was a win-win situation for everyone. There weren't many mines and everyone was eager to buy and resell the ores. If there were too many mines and many sellers, the value of the goods would be low. If someone had the red azure tea around here, they would definitely sell it at a lower price than the outside. Jiang Hao continued to mine. He had been here for a few days and hadn't gone out at all. Caring for the spirit herbs wouldn't earn him as much as mining. As long as he kept mining, he would keep earning bubbles. His physical attributes kept improving. It was also thanks to the nameless manual that he could benefit from what he collected to the fullest. He was also getting better at concealing his abilities. One day, even Hong Yuya wouldn't be able to see through his concealment. He would then have the ability to fight back. Cock-a-doodle-doo. The rhythmic crowing of a rooster rang out. Jiang Hao put away the oars and left immediately. Although he didn't know what would happen if he was trapped here, he didn't intend to find out anytime soon. Outside, the sky was getting brighter. Murong Qingqing used a branch to draw something on the ground. "What are you doing, disciple Murong?" Guwen asked curiously. "I'm checking how dangerous this cave is," Murong Qingqing said. Guwen waited for a while. "How dangerous is it?" "It's not as dangerous as I expected. There is a lot of spiritual energy inside," Murong Qingqing said. "Does that mean we can go in and explore?" Ding Yu asked. They wanted to see what was inside after the mine was sealed. They were all in the Golden Core realm and felt that they could handle whatever was inside. Previously, they were all in the Foundation Establishment realm. Hence, they were weak to face dangers. They were stronger now. With the opportunities we've gained and the spirit stones we have, what else do we want? We shouldn't be too greedy, Xia Dong said. Only junior brother Jiang is the most honest person here. He has made it clear that he only wants spirit stones, said Zhuge Zheng. If you want to go, then do so. But it will be troublesome if you can't come out of there, Ding Yu said. He immediately looked toward the direction of the forest, and his face darkened. Somebody is coming and they've destroyed everything I left behind, he said. The five of them stood up. At this moment, two figures walked out of the forest. One was a man dressed in black, and the other was a woman in white. Their cultivation realm wasn't clear. When they appeared, Zhuge Zheng's heart sank. The others felt the same. They knew that these were formidable opponents. "Seniors, why are you here?" asked Guwen politely. "We heard that you're selling ores, so we came to take a look," Mo Tian said with a smile. The two visitors were Mo Tian and Yi Luo. It took them quite some time to find this place. Otherwise they would have arrived much earlier. "We only have some cheap ores here. Seniors, if you are interested, we'll of course offer them to you," said Guwen. "We're only slightly interested in the ores. We aren't here to snatch them away from you," said Yi Luo with a friendly smile. "Actually, we were wondering if we could borrow some spirit stones from you all. If you are in difficulty, we cannot just stand by and do nothing. We'll offer you the spirit stones. How much do you need, seniors?" said Guwen. "We want to borrow as many as you have," said Yi Luo. "You must have several seniors from your sect here, right?" "Seniors, you must be joking. We come from a small sect and our seniors are far from being a match to you too," said Guwen humbly. "Small sect." Mo Tian looked at Zhuge Zheng. "When did the Mountain Sea Sword sect become a small sect?" Then he turned to Guwen. "When did Western Astronomical Academy turn into a small sect?" Guwen's heart sank again. The others felt the same. They exchanged glances with each other. These people planned to silence them forever. It wouldn't be easy to flee. They were too close and their life-saving treasures might not activate in time. Guwen still smiled amiably. He wanted to stall for time. Suddenly, a chicken crowed loudly. In the blink of an eye, he threw a talisman with the word defense written on it. Before the defense activated, he turned around and rushed toward the mine. Get inside. They could at least stall for time if they reached the mine. Perhaps they could find a way to escape. They had no other option. The other four understood his intention. They threw their talismans and ran toward the mine. Just as they ran, they saw Jiang Hao coming out of the mine. Guwen wanted to stop him, but Jiang Hao was too fast. He couldn't stop him. A Foundation Establishment realm cultivator had such an impressive movement technique. Jiang Hao was elusive like a shadow. It was difficult to see where he exactly was. This is the light and dust technique. How is this possible? Everyone was caught off guard. Jiang Hao, on the contrary, was puzzled. What's wrong with those five? Why are they running toward the mine? Are they bold enough to explore the mine when it's closing time? Jiang Hao appeared at the entrance of the mine. He couldn't really go inside and ask them. He didn't want to take a risk without knowing what was inside. At this moment, a taunting voice came from behind him. Five ran away and now there's another one, but he's weaker. Looks like he doesn't have many spirit stones. Chapter 319. Two more strikes. Jiang Hao turned to look behind him. He frowned when he saw two new faces. A man and a woman. The man was at the peak of the primordial spirit realm, with unstable fluctuations in his aura. It meant that his cultivation wasn't stable yet. He must have advanced just recently. The woman was at the late stage of the primordial spirit realm with a stable aura. She must have been at that stage for a long time. The strength of the two was not something a golden core realm cultivator could face, which explained why those 5 people had fled into the mine. Jiang Hao also didn't want to become their enemy. "Seniors, do you need something from me?" asked Jiang Hao. "We want to borrow some spirit stones," Yi Luo said with a smile. "How many spirit stones do you have, young friend?" 1,500, Jiang Hao said. "That's a small amount," Yi Luo said regretfully. "We wanted to borrow around 15,000. Do you have that much? If not, we'll have to find it somewhere else." Jiang Hao frowned. At that moment he suddenly sensed a response from the book in his storage treasure. It was the book Shuiyu had left behind. Jiang Hao was surprised. He looked at the woman in front of me but couldn't really understand how she was related to the book. "Senior, are you from the Heavenly Feather sect?" Both Yi Luo and Mo Tian were stunned. "How did you know?" Yi Luo asked. "Senior, are you Yi Luo?" Jiang Hao asked again. Yi Luo frowned. She couldn't figure out how this person knew about her. Since they assumed Jiang Hao was at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, they weren't worried about anything. "It seems that you are," Jiang Hao said. "I wonder if you remember Shuiyu, Senior?" "Shuiyu?" Yi Luo was surprised. She then nodded. "I remember. Junior sister Shuiyu was as beautiful as a flower. Some felt that she was too distant. There was a person who was determined to make her his at all costs. Junior sister Shuiyu was still young. I thought that person was sincere about his affection and I helped him. I thought he would treat her well, so I helped them get intimate. Unfortunately, junior sister Shuiyu didn't like him and ended up killing him instead. Her innocence was lost, but no one knew about it. I think senior brother Mo Tian was probably kept in the dark too." Yi Luo looked at Mo Tian. "I remember that you even captured her for a night of passion." Mo Tian's face darkened, but he didn't respond. Jiang Hao thought it was such an unexpected coincidence that both these people were here. "Junior, are you also interested in junior sister Shuiyu? I advise you to choose someone else. Many talents from our sect have been with her and she's not chaste. Keep your distance." Yi Luo shook her head and sighed. "No." Jiang Hao shook his head. "I'm not really familiar with her. I was just curious." "I see," said Yi Luo. "Let's talk about the spirit stones. We want to borrow 15,000. Do you have them, Junior?" "I have them. I have a total of 30,000 spirit stones. When do you plan to return them, Senior?" Jiang Hao asked. The two were astonished. How could a Foundation establishment realm cultivator have so many spirit stones? It wasn't that they were poor, but they had a lot of things they needed to spend their spirit stones on. For example, treasures, pills, herbs, etc. Moreover, the higher the cultivation, the higher the expenses. Their normal earnings were simply not enough. "We'll definitely return them. It's okay if we take a bit of time, right?" Yi Luo smiled sweetly. "You have so many spirit stones after all. Even if we don't return them, it won't make much of a difference, will it?" "Enough. First, let's see how many spirit stones he actually has. If he really has that many, we have to try and find those 5 people too," Mo Tian said as he prepared to make his move. "Please wait a moment," said Jiang Hao. "I have just one last question. Is the Heavenly Feather sect a demonic sect?" Yi Luo was just about to speak but suddenly felt a biting cold. Jiang Hao had disappeared from his original spot. Mo Tian's reflexes were quick. He immediately launched an attack behind him. His peak of primordial spirit realm aura erupted. Boom! A blade shattered his attack and the impact pushed him back. Mo Tian was alarmed. But before he could check where the attacker was, another massive blade intent pressed down on him. He roared and tried to use all his strength to resist. However, he found that he couldn't cast any spells. At this moment, he realized that his arm had been severed. Swoosh! A silver-white blade stabbed into his body. Immediately after, a terrifying power stirred in his body and destroyed his vitality. He gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of blood. "How dare you!" Boom! He burned himself, and an immensely powerful force erupted like a flood. However, moonlight swept past him. Amidst the moonlight, there was a purple aura, and then his vision began to blur. He finally saw the person who had attacked, but he couldn't believe his eyes. The one who killed him was the late-stage Foundation Establishment realm cultivator they had just met. Yi Luo looked in horror at the scene before her. A single slash beheaded Mo Tian. The attack was so fast that it was surreal. She saw the person who had attacked as his eyes met hers. I need the spirit stones. Jiang Hao pulled the saber out from Mo Tian's body and looked at the woman before him. I never said I wouldn't return them, Yi Luo stammered and backed away in fear. It's okay, he said. Just be more careful in your next life. Yi Luo was startled. She activated her life-preserving treasure and attempted to escape. Jiang Hao gripped the half-moon blade and purple energy surged. He took a step forward. He used the third form of the heavenly blade, Meteor. Jiang Hao vanished like a shooting star from his position, and the blade of light slashed at Yi Luo. In an instant, her defense collapsed and her treasure shattered. Yi Luo's life force dimmed. With a thud, her body fell to the ground. Jiang Hao landed beside her. Please, don't kill me. He stabbed her twice more. Only then did she die. Jiang Hao placed the two bodies together and threw Shuiyu's book at them. The book caught fire and burned ferociously. Flames enveloped the two corpses. Only a pile of ashes remained on the ground when the flames finally burned out. Jiang Hao finally felt at ease. Shuiyu's grudge was finally over. He cleaned the area up. Fortunately, the one at the peak of the primordial spirit realm had only just advanced. Otherwise, it might have been troublesome. After taking half a day to recover, Jiang Hao was at his peak once more. It was only at this point that he picked up the two storage treasures. Both in the primordial spirit realm, they should have quite a lot of spirit stones. They were going around borrowing spirit stones from juniors, so they might have collected a lot. Jiang Hao first checked Yi Luo's storage treasure. He was disappointed. Then he checked Mo Tian's storage treasure. His face darkened. People who managed to enter the corpse realm were geniuses. They had decent status and backgrounds, so how were they so poor? There were only 3,000 spirit stones in total from the two of them. 2,000 were from Yi Luo's storage treasure, and 1,000 spirit stones were from Mo Tian's storage treasure. Where were their spirit stones? Chapter 320, Jiang Hao may be in trouble. At the 100-flower lake, the flowers and leaves swayed gently by the pavilion. Their fragrance filled the air. The red and white dress swayed in the wind, and her hair rustled. Sect Master. A white figure landed in front of the pavilion. She looked at the woman sitting on the stone chair in the pavilion with respect. Speak. We have already captured half of the people targeting the heavenly fate misfortune pearl, and they are all imprisoned in the lawless tower. The new list is still being compiled, Baiji said. We still don't know their intentions regarding the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. We are interrogating them. We have traced the connections between Azure Mountain and the forces overseas. It seems to be related to the end of all things. The information was obtained from those captured. The end of all things is a strange force. They have a core group, but most of them are outsiders. It would be quite troublesome if we didn't have any other channels, but fortunately we do. However, it will still take some time. What do they want? Hong Yuya looked at Baiji. We're not sure yet. Baiji lowered her head. But judging from their core principles, it is possible that they are after the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. However, at that time, the heavenly fate misfortune pearl had not yet appeared. So their purpose is still uncertain. Continue the investigation, Hong Yuya calmly said. Yes. Baiji nodded. Not long ago, we received an invitation from the Bright Moon sect. They are going to hold a Tao conference and hope that we will participate. A Tao conference? Hong Yuya fell silent. Do they specify the levels of disciples to bring? It's probably Foundation Establishment, Golden Core and Primordial Spirit Realm. 4 disciples from each realm, Baiji said. Up to the Primordial Spirit Realm, it showed how considerate the Immortal sect was toward other sections. They could still manage to bring those at the higher realms, but they set their limit at that. That's up to you. Hong Yuya did not want to interfere with the matter. Is there anything else? Regarding Jiang Hao, there hasn't been any progress since he entered the corpse realm. The other suspected individuals haven't made any moves either. The people from the Heavenly Saint sect are untrustworthy, and they have appeared nearby. We have found their nearest base. As soon as we can, we will wipe them out completely. Their goal seems to be to wait until Jiang Hao leaves the sect. For now, it's unclear whether it's for the Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower or for Yan Hua, said Baiji. Hong Yuye nodded and looked into the distance. Anything else? Baiji then left. She needed to start finalizing the list for the Bright Moon sect. This was an opportunity to enhance the prestige of the Heavenly Note sect and must not be missed. In the corpse realm, Jiang Hao searched through the storage treasures of the two people he had killed. He found some primordial spirit pills in a bottle. Each bottle was worth about 500 or 600 spirit stones. There were a total of 3 bottles in Yi Luo's storage treasure. I've never seen someone at the primordial spirit realm so poor. Someone in the late or peak stage of the primordial spirit realm shouldn't be this poor. Most likely she had exchanged everything for pills and then found a chance to break through. When advancing, any spirit stones or treasures were indeed useless. Pills came in handy. Jiang Hao was the same. He kept certain useful things and sold everything else. What remained were things that were difficult to sell, such as the spirit herbs and treasures for refining pills. I can sell them here or offer them at a lower price to Gu Wen and the others. Jiang Hao found 2 more treasures in Yi Luo's storage, a good quality spirit sword, and a primordial spirit realm treasure that looked like a stone seal. It looks powerful. Jiang Hao tested it out and stifled a small hill nearby. It's a good thing I didn't give them a chance. Otherwise it would have been troublesome. He was most afraid of encountering people who could ambush him. Fortunately, as a late-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivator, they often lowered their guard around him. That was the benefit of concealing his cultivation realm. However, if he didn't conceal his cultivation realm, they wouldn't dare to approach this area in the first place. Jiang Hao didn't know what the price of a primordial spirit realm treasure would be. Golden core realm treasures were usually sold at thousands of spirit stones. It won't be too much to ask for 20,000 spirit stones for a primordial spirit realm treasure, but who can afford 20,000? Not many people can afford to pay even 10,000 spirit stones. Maybe I can sell it to Gu Wen and the others. Jiang Hao turned to look at the mine. He didn't know if they could come out. It was easy to get trapped inside. However, they were decisive individuals. They might turn out to be okay. They had managed to run from primordial spirit realm cultivators in a split second after all. He found a book in the storage treasure. It was titled Sky Feather Heart Sutra. It was the cultivation technique of the Heavenly Feather sect. Jiang Hao flipped through the book. The Sky Feather Heart Sutra technique was divided into 2 parts. One for regular cultivation and the other for the Sky Feather spiritual technique. The spiritual technique had a transcendent trait. When cultivated to a certain level, the spiritual technique could be used to break through a bottleneck. For example, someone with a natural talent that could only cultivate to the peak of the Foundation establishment realm could break through to the Golden Core realm after using the spiritual technique just once. It seems that the Heavenly Feather sect is not so simple. This spiritual technique is quite extraordinary. This book had a certain value, so Jiang Hao decided to keep it. After organizing everything, he estimated the prices for his gains. A Golden Core realm spirit sword will sell for about 8,000 to 9,000 spirit stones. A primordial spirit realm stone seal could sell for 20,000. 3 bottles of primordial spirit realm pills might fetch me about 1,500 spirit stones. These other items could make up to 1,000 spirit stones. That would be almost 31,000 spirit stones in total. If I sell them for a 50% discount, it will still be about 15,000. If I add 3,000 spirit stones to it, it'll be around 18,000. Jiang Hao thought about it and realized that it was not a small amount. The main problem was that he had to sell them at a discount. Otherwise he would have a hard time getting rid of them. Since he couldn't determine when the mine would reopen, Jiang Hao could only tend to his spirit herbs and collect the white bubbles. The next day Jiang Hao saw a blue bubble appear. It was an unexpected surprise. He checked the spiritual herbs and found that they were just ordinary herbs. He waited another day but the mine still didn't open. The rooster didn't crow at all. During this time he felt that people were watching him, but the formation of the primordial spirit realm deterred them. On the 3rd day the rooster finally crowed. Jiang Hao went to the entrance of the mine to see if the 5 people would finally come out. Inside the mine, Gu Wen and the others fled in panic. Many monsters chased after them and they used up all their treasures and pills. If it continued like this they wouldn't be able to survive for long. Zhuge Zhang's sword was broken. Gu Wen's brush was broken too. Ding Yu's shield had shattered, and Xia Dong's magic robe faded. Only Murong Qingqing was in better condition as she was protected by everyone. "We found it!" Murong Qingqing exclaimed. "The exit is here. Hurry!" This gave the others hope. They could finally leave this dreadful place. However, Guwen still had some worries. Could this be the same mine we entered before? I don't know, but it's safe, Murong Qingqing said. The five of them let out a sigh of relief. This was good news. Soon they saw the light. Do you think Jiang Hao is all right? Asked Xia Dong. They had been helpless when they faced such strong opponents. They didn't know how to feel since Jiang Hao had been outside all alone to face the enemies. Guwen frowned. He had seen the light and dust technique being used. For someone only in the late stage of Foundation establishment realm to be able to use such a technique. He knew that Jiang Hao wasn't someone ordinary. However, even if he was extraordinary, it would be almost impossible to survive when faced with two formidable enemies. They sighed sadly, thinking about Jiang Hao's fate. Sudden, they heard a voice from the entrance of the cave. It seems like everyone is fine. The five people were stunned. That was Jiang Hao's voice. Chapter 321, Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator of the Heavenly Note Sect. Everyone was startled to hear Jiang Hao's voice. Rationally, a Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator couldn't survive after facing two seniors in Primordial Spirit Realm. The most likely possibility for their survival was that the opponents decided to spare them to exploit them further. Maybe they made a deal with Jiang Hao to make him mine in exchange for spirit stones. Once he was no longer useful, they would get rid of him. Everyone sighed wearily. Could they really not escape this miserable fate? When the five people came out of the mine, they saw Jiang Hao standing at the entrance. His hands were dirty. He must have been tending to the spirit herbs. Guwen looked around for the two seniors from before. He frowned. Where are they? Why aren't they here? What are you looking for? Jiang Hao asked. He felt relieved to see them all safe. If their group reduced in numbers, it would be hard to sell the ores and spirit herbs. The two seniors from before. Where are they? Asked Guwen. Did they leave? They might still have a chance to escape before the seniors came back for them. They left, Jiang Hao said. Left? Everyone was shocked. It didn't make sense that they left just like that. Yes, they left. Jiang Hao nodded. He looked at Zhuge Zheng's broken sword. It seems that Disciple Zhuge's spirit sword is broken. Yes. Zhuge Zheng looked regretfully at the broken sword. It was his last treasure. Jiang Hao conjured up a spirit sword. Is this sword suitable for you? Zhuge Zheng took the sword and tested it. He then nodded. It's decent. This is a golden core realm spirit sword. It should be worth around 8 to 9 spirit stones outside. I can give it to you for a lower price, around 6,500. Zhuge Zheng was surprised for a moment, but 6,500 spirit stones for a sword like this was indeed reasonable. The quality of this spirit sword was decent, and its market price would probably be around 12,000. Zhuge Zheng hesitated. Jiang Hao kindly asked, What do you think, Disciple Zhuge? I only have around 5,700 spirit stones on me right now, Zhuge Zheng said awkwardly. Among them he was probably the poorest. He had left early and bought pills with the spirit stones he had to advance. He had only earned a few thousand spirit stones recently. It was clearly not enough. Jiang Hao thought for a moment before nodding. That will do. Then, friend Jiang, you can take the jade pendant to our sect in the future and exchange it for 2,000 spirit stones, said Zhuge Zheng. Jiang Hao received 5,763 spirit stones. The others found it strange that he, a late-stage Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, was selling a golden core realm treasure. Jiang Hao looked at Guwen. Guwen knew that Jiang Hao was after his spirit stones. My treasure is broken, but I still have a... Before he could finish his sentence, Jiang Hao conjured up a primordial spirit realm stone seal. This is a primordial spirit realm treasure. It can be used by a golden core realm cultivator. I'm willing to sell it for 10,000, said Jiang Hao. Guwen was different from the others. He hadn't left until the last moment. He was probably the richest among them besides Jiang Hao. He accepted the stone seal and handed Jiang Hao 10,000 spirit stones. Disciple Jiang, you are truly considerate. You knew that I needed a magic treasure. It wasn't just about how much profit. The treasure suited Guwen. When they heard that the stone seal was a primordial spirit realm treasure, they were stunned. Soon they figured out what had likely happened to the two powerful seniors. From earlier, Jiang Hao had probably killed them. Did he have someone backing him up, or did he possess a powerful treasure himself? They regretted their decision. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have entered the mine. They could have found out further about Jiang Hao. However, that was just a passing thought. Some things were best left unknown. Do you have any magic robes? Xiaodong asked. And do you have any shields or spiritual-type treasures? Ding Yu asked. I am in need of a compass, Murong Qingqing said. Jiang Hao shook his head. He wasn't a seller of treasures. Not at the moment. They were stunned. Jiang Hao sold the primordial spirit pills and other items he had obtained from the cultivators of the Heavenly Feather sect. He sold everything that could be sold at a low price. Anything he couldn't sell was worthless. Furthermore, these people weren't fools. They could guess where these things came from. Buying them meant they were also taking risks. So, selling them at a lower price was reasonable. In the end, Jiang Hao made a profit of 19,000 spirit stones. Adding the initial 33,000, he now had a total of 52,000 spirit stones. This was the most money Jiang Hao had ever seen in his life. Oh, by the way, Guwen suddenly said, there's news about red azure tea that you told me to ask about. Really? Jiang Hao felt that 10,000 spirit stones were about to disappear. Yes, but the person said he doesn't have red azure tea. However, he has a way to get September spring tea. I wonder if that would work? Guwen asked. September spring tea? Jiang Hao was stunned. He remembered that Hong Yuya had mentioned two types of tea leaves, red azure tea and September spring tea. The red azure tea cost around 10,000 spirit stones and the September spring tea cost around 20,000. So even with the profit he just made, it wouldn't be enough to buy it. No. Jiang Hao declined and asked him to see if he found anyone with red azure tea. After that, he headed back into the mine with the rooster. Gu Wen and the others looked at Jiang Hao disappearing into the cave and couldn't believe it. It seemed like they had truly escaped a disaster. Good thing I'm an honest person. Gu Wen laughed. If he had tried to deceive Jiang Hao. He looked at the treasure in his hand. Do you think he has someone backing him up, or does he possess something extraordinary? Ding Yu asked. Or maybe he is hiding his cultivation, Xiaodong said. The group didn't think about it much. They decided that the less they knew about it, the better. An enlightenment spring has appeared. Lan Qian was intrigued. An enlightenment spring? Does such a thing exist in the corpse realm as well? Yinqi was curious. Yes, and it appeared in the blood-tide forest. It's really strange for such a thing to appear in the Foundation Establishment region, said Lan Qian. Indeed. The enlightenment spring is formed when things gather and resonate with the heavens and the earth, and it comes together as a spring. This means either there's a powerful individual in the blood-tide forest or some special existence has been trapped there, Yunqi said. In that case, the changes in the human yuan formation from before might have originated from the blood-tide forest, said Lan Qian. Blood-tide forest? Yunqi hesitated for a moment and then smiled. Shall we go and take a look? We can, but the fifth appearance of the heavenly steel mountain is likely to be in the Soul Ascension region next time. It will be too dangerous to go there, said Lan Qian. I think we should keep a low profile when going to the blood-tide forest. What do you think, senior sister? Yinqi asked. Lan Qian nodded. All right, let's suppress our cultivation of the Golden Core realm. But first we need to go to the Golden Core region. The fifth appearance of Heavenly Steel Mountain might happen there. Once we comprehend again, we can go to the blood-tide forest and find the enlightenment spring. However, it won't be easy in the Foundation Establishment region. There is a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator from Heavenly Note sect there? We can inquire about his situation and decide if we want to offer our protection. You truly are a compassionate person, senior sister Lan. However, the Heavenly Note sect has killed many of our sect members, Yunqi said. Lan Qian glanced at Yunqi. Chapter 322, I'll accept this. The appearance of the Enlightenment Spring attracted many people to the blood-tide forest, from early-stage Golden Core realm cultivators to mid- and late-stage Primordial Spirit realm cultivators. Among them, there were quite a few in the early-stage Primordial Spirit realm. Many had advanced after entering and obtaining opportunities within 5 or 6 months. Dongfang Ji stood in the blood-tide forest and waited after acquiring most of the things he needed. At that moment, he saw a woman dressed in the attire of the Heavenly Feather sect in the middle stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. Excuse me, please wait a moment, said Dongfang Ji as he landed in front of her. I'd like to ask you some questions if you don't mind. Luli frowned and looked at the man warily. Is something the matter? I want to ask about a few people from your sect, he said. Who are they? Luli asked. She couldn't see through the man's cultivation realm at all. I want to know where Yi Luo and Mo Tian are at the moment, Dongfangji asked. Luli was astonished. You don't want to tell me? Dongfangji's face darkened. He released his aura of the soul ascension realm. Luli was terrified. No. It's not that I don't want to tell you, it's just that they are already dead. Dead? Can you tell me what happened? Dongfangji was surprised. Yes, they are dead, Luli said. Senior sister Yi Luo and senior brother Mo Tian had a different status in the sect from others, so they carried certain items on them. If something happened, we would detect their location. However, the moment the treasure sent a warning, they were killed. They died right here in the blood-tide forest, so I came to investigate. Dongfangji's face darkened. It seems they were discovered. In that case, I can't spare you either. If you want to blame someone, blame it on the fact that you are from the Heavenly Feather sect. Luli was shocked. She immediately activated her protective treasures. You? What about me? Dongfangji's aura erupted, and his power crushed her defenses. One day the entire Heavenly Feather sect will die at the hands of the end of all things. Boom. The power crushed Luli's arm. At that critical moment, she escaped into a spatial vortex and disappeared on the spot. Dongfangji watched her disappear and then looked at the blood-tide forest. Although I'm a bit overestimating my abilities, I'll accept this. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly sensed a familiar presence. He waited in place for a moment. After a short while, Wuxia approached from afar. He was startled at first, but then regained his composure and appeared in front of Dongfangji. Senior brother Dongfang, you are here too. Dongfangji looked at Wuxia and noticed signs of a breakthrough. Junior. Brother Mu, are you here for the Enlightenment Spring too? Yes. Wuxia nodded. I'm just short of a little bit. After that, I'll wait for some time. If I'm lucky, I'll break through to the primordial spirit realm in the next few years. Your talent is truly extraordinary, Dongfangji smiled. Be careful once you enter. There are formidable existences in the blood-tide forest. Formidable existences? Wuxia was surprised, but he didn't ask further. He needed to be cautious. By the way, Jiang Junior brother Jiang is also in the blood-tide forest. Have you seen him? Wuxia asked. Dongfangji shook his head. I've never met him before. But I heard that he's with that powerful cultivator and helping him mine. You should be safe. Besides, I heard from the Cliff Master that he has protective treasures, so as long as he's careful, ordinary primordial spirit realm cultivators can't do anything to him. Shuiyu was killed when she went to find Jiang Hao. Dongfangji assumed that the powerful cultivator might have done it. That person hadn't attacked anyone else, so he might not be a very aggressive person. Moreover, Jiang Hao and the group were selling ores and spirit herbs, which meant that the powerful cultivator had other goals. Wuxia found it strange that Jiang Hao was mining. How could he be mining again after what happened in the mine before? He found it strange. Does junior brother Jiang have a connection with mining? Go ahead. I'll be around here. If anything happens, use secret communication to inform me, Dongfangji said. Thank you, senior brother. Wuxia was glad. Having a senior at the Soul Ascension realm nearby made him feel safe. Many cultivators in the primordial spirit realm had gathered in this place after all. In the mine, Jiang Hao continued to dig for ore. After more than half a month of mining, he sensed another summoning. This time he could directly go there if he responded. It was the fourth time. Heavenly Steel Mountain had appeared in this place 4 times already. It was likely to make 2 more appearances, then it wouldn't appear again anymore. According to Zhuang Yuzhen, Heavenly Steel Mountain would appear 6 to 8 times a year. If they missed the 6th appearance, they would probably miss the opportunity altogether. Therefore, many people wanted to find it. The main issue was that the distance between the regions like Foundation Establishment, Golden Core, Primordial Spirit, and Soul Ascension was extremely far. In many cases, it took a month just to catch up. Ignoring the summons, Jiang Hao continued to mine, and soon another blue bubble appeared. Sure enough, mining was still useful. However, not long after, the rooster crowed. He picked it up and left. He had heard from Gu Wen and the others that the mine was filled with spirit beasts. They had heard that these beasts were dangerous, so they had remained hidden when they were inside. They were chased by the beasts anyway before they finally found their escape. However, one thing they could be sure of was that the mine was connected to other places. Jiang Hao realized that people from the other mines would probably come to this place if they could. In any case, he had to be more cautious. Jiang Hao was much more careful than before when he went into the mine. Ding Yu had helped him set up some trigger formations. If someone approached the mine, the formations would be triggered, and it would let him know that there was someone nearby. Jiang Hao had checked these formations and they were indeed perception formations. However, he didn't know how to set them up. Jiang Hao only now realized that many people had arrived in the Foundation establishment region recently. Many Golden Core Realm cultivators and quite a few Primordial Spirit Realm cultivators were gathered around the Enlightenment Spring. This made him feel anxious. With so many people around, there must be people from his sect and from the Divine Corpse sect arriving too. He wasn't afraid of being known for mining in the cave, but he was afraid they would realize he had many spirit stones. The others were worried about the same. This is bad. One of my senior brothers, whom I don't get along well with, has arrived. He knows I'm selling ores. He asked if I earned a lot of spirit stones, said Ding Yu. What did you tell him? Guwen asked. He also seemed troubled because of the matter with the Enlightenment Spring. Some seniors might target them here. I told him I was working for Senior Shang'en and that I gained some insights from him because of the tasks he assigned to me. I told him that was how I advanced to the Golden Core Realm, Ding Yu said. Then everything is okay? Murong Qingqing asked. No, he said I should ask Senior Shang'en some cultivation questions for him. He asked about the Great Thousand God sect. Ding Yu sighed. He knew nothing about the Great Thousand God sect, so he couldn't even make up an answer. Chapter 323, Should I Go to Heavenly Steel Mountain? They felt helpless when they heard about Ding Yu's problem. Their sects were okay. The people from their sects never resorted to violence even if they disliked someone. If they faced something like that, they would be trying to leave the corpse realm as soon as possible. It was different for Jiang Hao. In his sect, people would readily resort to violence. Within the sect, everyone was safe, but outside, it was the survival of the fittest. The rules were strict inside the Heavenly Note sect, but once you left the sect, no one cared. Jiang Hao felt that many people disliked the strict rules within the Heavenly Note sect, but many others probably liked it because they didn't have to worry about being killed inside the sect. When Ding Yu mentioned the Great Thousand God sect, Jiang Hao was curious. What's the question? He had come into contact with the Great Thousand God sect and knew a bit about it. He had also overheard some discussions about cultivation issues. It's about spiritual techniques, Ding Yu said truthfully. He said he has a friend who wants to cultivate the Great Thousand Mental Energy Technique and wants to know if it's possible. Great Thousand Mental Energy Technique? Jiang Hao was pleased. He happened to know the answer to the question. Does he want to cultivate the Great Thousand Divine Avatar? The others were surprised. I didn't ask about that. Ding Yu shook his head. If he wants to cultivate the Great Thousand Divine Avatar, he must have the Grand Thousand God Sect's cultivation method. Otherwise, I advise his friend not to attempt it. If you do it wrong, you'll die, Jiang Hao said calmly. Everyone was surprised. They had no knowledge about something like that. Jiang Hao didn't mind telling them about such matters. He had asked Hong Yuya about it and she had also explained some things to him. When Jiang Hao explained it, everyone was stunned. Sometimes there were people in the world with a lower cultivation realm but held higher knowledge about it than others. I'll go find my senior later, Ding Yu said. Thank you. Jiang Hao nodded. If it weren't for Gue being here, he would have used the stone tablet to answer their questions. After all, these people were extraordinary in their cultivation and knowledge. Unfortunately, the conditions didn't allow it. Jiang Hao thought of using Shang'en as an excuse but didn't know if that would work. After exchanging some spirit stones, Jiang Hao continued to take care of the spirit herbs. Since many people were concentrating on the Enlightenment Spring, it was much easier to find spirit herbs here. However, they were too wealthy, and the danger of being discovered was too high. As more and more people came for the Enlightenment Spring, their situation became increasingly dangerous. The 6 of them had over 100,000 spirit stones combined. If others found out about that, cultivators in Primordial Spirit Realm and even Soul Ascension Realm would rush to kill them. They also had many treasures with them. Their situation was risky. Ding Yu went to the forest. There was a Primordial Spirit Realm cultivator in front of him. He was leaning against a tree. Senior Brother Che, Ding Yu greeted respectfully. Did you ask your senior for me? Senior Brother Che smiled. I did. I had to pay a price to ask your question, Senior, said Ding Yu. Is that so? Senior Brother Che stared at him. He didn't believe that his junior was selling ores just to serve someone named Shang'en. So, he made Ding Yu ask about something. He already knew that the Great Thousand mental energy technique couldn't be used. He didn't know the reason for it. However, it was enough to make his junior admit that someone named Shang-en didn't exist, and he had earned many spirit stones because of which he had lied. Senior Shang-en wanted to know if your friend was aiming to cultivate the Great Thousand Divine Avatar, said Ding Yu. If he does? Well, he shouldn't attempt it unless he has the Great Thousand God Sex cultivation technique. If he tried it, he might die. That's what he said Ding Yu. Senior brother Che was shocked. He fell silent and seemed to be thinking about something. Thank you for the information, junior brother. I'll tell my friend about it. I'll also help spread the news about the formidable senior here. It might make your life a little easier too, said senior brother Che. Thank you, senior brother Che, said Ding Yu gratefully. It would definitely make their lives easier if people were keeping an eye on them. The rumors spread quickly. Everyone now knew that there was an expert in this region named Shang-en. They also figured out that the previous commotion was because of him, and that the appearance of the Enlightenment Spring was because of him. Shang-en's name made everyone fearful. This brought a moment of peace for Gu Wen and the others. In early August, Jiang Hao had been in the corpse realm for over half a year. The new summons came again. It meant that the heavenly steel mountain was about to disappear from its previous location or had already vanished. The next location had been determined. Jiang Hao ignored it. He calculated his earnings for this month. Gu Wen and the others had sold quite a few ores, and he had received 5,000 spirit stones as his share. He now had a total of 57,000 spirit stones. With such a huge sum of money, he considered his expenses. 24,000 for the rabbit, 20,000 for the peach tree, and 10,000 for the azure red tea. That added up to 54,000, leaving him with 3,000. Jiang Hao was speechless. The huge sum of money would disappear in an instant, but he was surprisingly happy to know that he would have 3,000 spirit stones remaining. Many people had indeed come to the blood-tide forest, and the fluctuations of spiritual energy were much stronger than before. Fortunately, no familiar faces appeared, which made Jiang Hao feel much safer. Half a year had passed and there were not many people nearby with spirit stones. If things didn't work out, they could keep the ores and wait for another opportunity in the future. Another month passed. While Jiang Hao was tending to the spirit herbs, he felt the strong fluctuations of spiritual energy around him. It was very likely that a soul ascension realm expert had arrived. Due to the large gathering of people and the fact that they were not far from the Enlightenment Spring, Jiang Hao could sense some things with the help of knowledge he had gained from the Nameless Manual. However, they hadn't sold many ores this month, and their earnings were only 2,000 spirit stones each. I think we should leave. Gu Wen looked at everyone. I don't have a problem with it. My brother is nearby. I can go find him, said Zhuge Zheng. I have a bit of a problem, but I can handle it. Ding Yu smiled. I secretly wanted to earn more spirit stones, but it seems that will be difficult now. Murong Qingqing sighed. I don't have a problem with it, Xiaodong said. They looked at Jiang Hao. Don't look at me. I just want to continue mining. However, if he wanted to continue mining, he needed to find a stronger partner. He suddenly felt another summoning. Heavenly Steel Mountain had appeared for the 5th time. Jiang Hao hesitated. He could no longer continue mining here. Even if he was in the primordial spirit realm, continuing to mine here would lead to trouble. It was getting dangerous. However, if he didn't mine ores, it would lead to a loss. He needed to get more bubbles. Maybe going to Heavenly Steel Mountain was the better alternative if he wanted to continue mining. Besides, with many people rushing to the Foundation Establishment region, Heavenly Steel Mountain would be considerably safer. Should I respond to the summons? Once he did, he could leave this dilemma behind. He could even show some of his cultivation and then hide and mine for ores. It did seem like a good choice. Chapter 324. The Demoness is here again. Feeling the summons again, Jiang Hao began to weigh the gains and losses. Leaving from here wouldn't have much impact. He could just distribute the items and then inform the others of his departure. The only thing to be concerned about was the response he might receive. According to Gue, I might be an extraordinary genius. There was already a noticeable reaction even before I reached there. Once I go, there's a high probability of an even greater impact. Jiang Hao thought about it. If the impact was significant, it meant that he would attract attention from others. It would probably be difficult to avoid others. In the end, he thought it would be safer to stay here. He needed to continue mining. If he wanted to mine now, he needed to show others that allying with him was beneficial. Jiang Hao thought of something and asked, "Are there other mines nearby in the Golden Core region around the Blood-Tide Forest?" Everyone understood. It was true that they couldn't continue mining in the Blood-Tide Forest, since many people were gathered here because of the Enlightenment Spring. However, they could find some other place far away from the Enlightenment Spring and continue their arrangement, especially since 5 of them were at the Golden Core realm already. But the problem was there were no other mines. "We haven't found any information about other mines, but we might be able to ask around," said Gu Wen. "What if we don't find any?" Zhuge Jing asked. "Then we can only consider leaving like Senior Shang'an and search for opportunities on our own." Jiang Hao thought about it. It was indeed the best option. Even if he continued mining, the risk would be greater. The best course of action was to leave this place and go to other locations for mining. But before leaving, he needed to make sure if anyone here had the red azure tea. However, he still didn't have any information about it. The person who had the September Spring was still around, but it seemed that he had left the Enlightenment Spring area and was planning to find Heavenly Steel Mountain. "You probably should make a decision soon," Gu Wen said. Jiang Hao was once again faced with a dilemma. "What's the price?" Jiang Hao asked. 21,000 spirit stones, Gu Wen said. Jiang Hao felt dissatisfied. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "I can afford 18,000. Ask him if he's willing to sell it at that price. If not, forget it." "All right." Gu Wen nodded. "I'll check the quality of the tea when the time comes. If there's an issue, then I'll tell him to forget about it." Jiang Hao thanked him. Gu Wen had helped him a lot, even though he saw Jiang Hao at only the Foundation Establishment realm, and he was at the Golden Core realm. Jiang Hao preferred to cooperate with people from the immortal sects than demonic sects because disciples from immortal sects were more reliable. With the matter settled, they began talking among themselves. "With so many people gathered in the Blood-Tide Force, do you think it will attract Heavenly Steel Mountain?" asked Murong Qingqing. "Not very likely." Ding Yu shook his head. "One heard that Heavenly Steel Mountain is actually quite close to our current location. Otherwise, why would people be going there? Besides, compared to the entire Corpse realm, the Blood-Tide Forest is nothing. Also, that extraordinary disciple is nowhere to be seen. I heard something else. It is said that Heavenly Steel Mountain has been sending summons for someone. Everyone claims there is an extraordinary genius here, but they haven't gone to Heavenly Steel Mountain. I wonder why," said Gu Wen. Everyone speculated about where Heavenly Steel Mountain might appear next. They came here for opportunities. They had no intention of heading to Heavenly Steel Mountain. It was extremely difficult to reach Heavenly Steel Mountain at the Foundation Establishment realm, even more so when advancing to the early Golden Core realm. Unless it appeared in the Blood-Tide Forest, not many people would go seeking it. Jiang Hao listened quietly. He had no greed for Heavenly Steel Mountain. It would be safer for him not to go there. For him, the real concern was to find a place to mine. 3 days later, Gu Wen handed a delicate box to Jiang Hao. "I saw that the person was interested, so I lowered the price by another 500. The selling price is now 17,500 spirit stones. The quality is great. I checked it out." He took the box and opened it to take a look. Inside he saw green tea leaves which were significantly different from the azure red tea. There was no fragrance, but there was a flow of spiritual energy on it. Jiang Hao discovered that the spiritual energy in the tea leaves was hidden within the veins of the leaves, and it was not fixed but flowed like a living spring. The contained spiritual energy was enormous. "This is good tea." Looking at the tea leaves, Jiang Hao had a feeling that he didn't even need any Heaven of Rejuvenation pills to advance to the Golden Core realm. Lust a sit of. This tea would be enough to advance. But it had to be brewed properly. This was a tea worth 20,000 spirit stones. He felt reluctant to have Hong Yuye drink it like ordinary tea. However, since he had already bought it, he suddenly wanted to taste it. Jiang Hao decided to keep the tea for now and not inform Hong Yuye just yet. Perhaps later he could acquire the red azure tea and sell the September spring tea for 20,000 spirit stones. He gave Gu Wen 17,500 spirit stones. He was left with 39,000 spirit stones. He was suddenly poorer than before. During these few days they had stopped selling the ores and were just observing the situation. Currently they were asking around to find out if there were other mines around. They found out there was one in the primordial spirit region. They couldn't dare to go there. 7 more days passed and Jiang Hao thought about what to do. The number of people is increasing. I should leave soon. Even if I stay and offer benefits to others, it will be dangerous. More people meant more danger. Leaving as soon as possible was the best choice. With his decision made, Jiang Hao stopped thinking too much about it. In the afternoon, the rooster crowed and Jiang Hao walked out of the mine. The other 5 were also outside. They were having a difficult time. After coming out of the mine, Jiang Hao stored the ores in the warehouse. I'm planning to leave, he said to everyone. Where are you going? Guwen wasn't surprised. The surrounding area was becoming more crowded, and powerful experts kept appearing. Currently they were all concerned with the Enlightenment Spring. Once they were done with that, who knew what would happen? Disbanding from this group was inevitable. I don't know. Jiang Hao shook his head. Then they discussed dividing the resources. Jiang Hao told them that he didn't need the ores, but he would appreciate a few spirit herbs to take along. The others were happy with this arrangement because it was difficult for them to tend to the spirit herbs, and the cost-benefit ratio was not high. As for the ores, they would have more opportunities to sell them later. In a few years, when they found an opportunity, they could sell some of the ore for spirit stones. They could even sell it all at once when it was time to leave. After the 5 divided the ores, they bid farewell to Jiang Hao. Friend Jiang, I hope we meet again soon, said Guwen. Jiang Hao nodded. See you around. After leaving the corpse realm, they would probably never meet again. Most of these people came from the western and northern regions. Those places were too far away and Jiang Hao wouldn't be able to go there. With his current situation, it was safer to stay in the Heavenly Note sect. They had already agreed on it before. Once Shang'an left, they would be free to go their own way. Each of them would find a trusted sect to seek refuge in. Jiang Hao was different. He needed to escape alone. But before he left, he had one final task with the spirit herbs. After cutting off the spirit field, Jiang Hao used his universe in a palm technique to seal the entire field. Then he covered it with soil. You're not mining anymore? Asked a pleasant voice from behind him. Jiang Hao was surprised. Hong Yuya. He could never forget her voice. But why was she here so soon? Chapter 325. The Appearance of Heavenly Steel Mountain. As he turned around, Jiang Hao found Hong Yuya standing right behind him. Have you gathered enough spirit stones for buying the tea? She asked. She waited for his answer. Not yet, but there's still time, Jiang Hao said. Are you going to buy the red azure tea? Hong Yuya asked with a faint smile on her lips. Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment. I will buy the tea that satisfies you, senior. Hong Yuya didn't say anything else. She looked into the distance. What is Heavenly Steel Mountain like? I don't know. Jiang Hao shook his head. He had never been to Heavenly Steel Mountain. In that case, let's go and see, Hong Yuya said calmly. Jiang Hao agreed. With Hong Yuya by his side, he didn't need to worry about anything. Even if Gui saw him, she wouldn't be able to recognize him. When should we set off, senior? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuya looked at him. Set off. Jiang Hao couldn't fathom what the woman in front of him was thinking. Her gaze carried absolute confidence. In his confusion, he suddenly felt the presence of Hong Yuya's aura. It was different from before, but at the moment he couldn't put it into words. It seemed that she didn't prevent herself from being sensed by others during this time. As Hong Yuya's aura emerged, Jiang Hao once again felt the summoning. But this time he could clearly sense that the summoning was not only for him but also for Hong Yuya. They stood together. If one of them responded, they would both be transported together. There might even be a protective force to keep them safe during the process. Jiang Hao didn't dare to respond. Hong Yuya also stood quietly by his side. Not long after Gu Wen and the others left, they decided to go their separate ways. They each wanted to find their own sect or leave this place and seek refuge in the Golden Core region. However, just as they were about to part ways, the sky changed. Look at the sky, Ding Yu said. They all looked up at the sky and saw a swirling vortex. It seemed like a summoning. It was intense. What's going on? Although they had decent cultivation, their knowledge about these things was limited. They had never seen anything like this before. Mu Qi, who was still in the Enlightenment Spring, looked up at the sky in amazement. It was his first time here and he had no idea if this was normal. At this moment, a powerful expert from the Divine Corpse sect stood up and looked at the sky in horror. Heavenly Steel Mountain sending such a summoning was unprecedented. He had been thinking about causing some commotion here. However, if the extraordinary genius was in this place, he couldn't afford to offend them. In an instant all his plans were shattered. He didn't dare to do anything. Jiang Hao was also stunned. The commotion caused was simply too big. This was not how he did things usually. If it weren't for Hong Yuye, he would have left this place. At Clear Dust Lake in the Corpse Realm, Yunqi and Lan Qian were exploring the Heavenly Steel Mountain in the Golden Core region. This time they wanted to check out the 36 heavenly stars and understand more things. Senior sister, they say that all opportunities come from Heavenly Steel Mountain. How is it that I haven't gained anything at all? I've come up here 3 or 4 times already, Yunqi said helplessly. If you haven't gained any opportunities, shouldn't you ask yourself what you were doing during those times? Lan Qian asked. Haha. Yunqi looked embarrassed. I just wanted to see if I could find something from the 6th stone tablet. It's your 5th time. The Heavenly Steel Mountain might not appear anymore. Moreover, it's already mid-September and there's not much time left. We don't have much time, Lan Qian said. Alright, this time I'll get close to 36 heavenly stars, Yunqi said. At this moment they arrived in front of a stone tablet. Hasn't that extraordinary genius visited this place yet? Asked Yunqi in surprise as he saw the stone tablet emitting a faint light like before. Was the extraordinary genius uninterested in Heavenly Steel Mountain at all? Although he hasn't gained anything, every time he came up the mountain, he could feel the spiritual energy helping him. Even if he did nothing except wander around the mountain, he could feel his body and spiritual energy changing. The stone tablet in front of them suddenly emitted a bright light. The summoning seemed to increase in intensity. A vortex appeared in the sky. It was as if the mountain was welcoming the arrival of the genius. What's happening? Asked Lan Qian in confusion. Yunqi looked excited. Heavenly Steel Mountain is determined to win this time. However, nothing happened after a while. The person must have ignored it again. The light started to fade. Yunqi felt a bit disappointed. He had wanted to see the extraordinary genius. A beam of light shot up from Heavenly Steel Mountain suddenly. Then came the second beam, the third and the fourth. At this moment, Yunqi and the others realized that the stone tablet in front of them also emitted a beam of light. They understood that each beam of light represented one stone tablet. 108 beams of light shot into the sky and merged with the vortex. Everyone at Heavenly Steel Mountain realized something. The mountain was about to move. How is this possible? Lan Qian couldn't believe it. This meant that the extraordinary genius wasn't coming to the mountain, but the mountain had decided to go to them. What kind of genius was worth such attention from Heavenly Steel Mountain? At the same time, those who were heading toward Heavenly Steel Mountain saw the beams of light shooting into the sky. Qingyu had wanted to climb up the mountain but it disappeared. The vortex also disappeared. Qingyu was speechless. What just happened? Heavenly Steel Mountain shouldn't have disappeared so soon. Why did it suddenly vanish? Everyone was puzzled. Back in the blood-tide forest, people saw beams of light appearing in the vortex. One after another, the beams of light fell from the sky. Then 108 beams of light gathered. Heavenly Steel Mountain appeared at the place where the light beams fell. A majestic mountain suddenly rose in front of the people and caught them off guard. Guwen looked at the mountain before him. His eyes were wide in astonishment. How is this possible? Heavenly Steel Mountain had suddenly appeared here. It wasn't just Guwen who was astonished. Everyone in the Enlightenment Spring was shocked. The appearance of Heavenly Steel Mountain was very unexpected. Lan Qian looked at the foot of the mountain. She knew where they were. Blood-tide forest. How can this be? Is this the Foundation Establishment region? Yunqi was also astonished. The extraordinary genius was at the Foundation Establishment region? If that were true, even as a genius they wouldn't be anyone remarkable. Their cultivation was too low. They wondered if the genius talent was shocking. Maybe that was why the mountain favored them. Even so, this seemed unexpected and unlikely. Be careful, Lan Qian warned. Regardless of the genius cultivation realm, we must not provoke them. If anyone targets them, they will be suppressed by the mountain. I don't think it's possible for the extraordinary genius to be at the Foundation Establishment realm. Maybe they are powerful but just chose to stay in this region. Otherwise, how could they have been able to ignore the summons of Heavenly Steel Mountain? Asked Yunqi. Chapter 326. witnessing Heavenly Steel Mountain. Jiang Hao looked at the mountain in front of him. He felt nervous. This mountain contained unimaginable power, and its dazzling aura made it feel vast and majestic. It was a vast expanse like an infinite starry sky. So, this is Heavenly Steel Mountain? Jiang Hao finally understood why Heavenly Steel Mountain was the most important place in the corpse realm. It was an inherently special existence. Before, he couldn't understand how Heavenly Steel Mountain would suppress powerful individuals, but now it seemed that it didn't need any special means. The power concealed within it was enough to suppress everything. Jiang Hao looked at the woman in the red and white gown beside him and couldn't help but wonder who was stronger, Hong Yuye or the mountain. It made no difference to Jiang Hao because either of them could crush him without exerting much effort. Jiang Hao couldn't help but feel anxious. "Senior, isn't this a bit much?" Hong Yuye glanced at Jiang Hao. "You've been cautious for so many years, but have you never thought about doing something great?" "People will die because of this," Jiang Hao muttered softly. What kind of strength did he have to amaze the world with a single feat? To truly make an astonishing appearance, he would need to mine for 100 years. It would be best if it was in the Heavenly Note Sex mine. Hong Yuye didn't look at Jiang Hao. Instead, she gazed at the mountain in front of her. "This mountain is indeed special. Let's go and take a look." Jiang Hao dared not refuse and could only follow Hong Yuye up the mountain. However, he was somewhat puzzled about the purpose of Heavenly Steel Mountain summoning. Was it really just for him to comprehend the stone tablets? Or was there something else? No matter what it was, as long as Hong Yuye was with him, he didn't need to worry. He would be safe. When they reached the path of Heavenly Steel Mountain, suddenly all the stone tablets on the mountain emitted a glow, and then the light started connecting. The light started from the first stone tablet and connected upward. In an instant, all 108 tablets were connected together. Immediately, the light from the first stone tablet fell in front of Jiang Hao. It seemed that with just one step they could reach the first stone tablet without exerting much effort. Jiang Hao was shocked. This was probably because of Hong Yuye. How terrifying was Hong Yuye exactly? On the mountainside, Gu Wen and the others understood. The extraordinary genius was in the blood-tide forest. The genius hadn't visited Heavenly Steel Mountain, so the mountain had come here. How shocking is that genius? Gu Wen asked. He himself was also a genius. Only one Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator from the Astronomical Academy was qualified to enter Heavenly Steel Mountain. Zhuge Zheng was the same. Although they were not the most outstanding geniuses in his sect, they were still among the top. But they had never imagined that there could be someone so extraordinary that Heavenly Steel Mountain would come for them personally. "I think I know who he is. Truly there is always someone better than you." Ding Yu was excited. Encountering such a genius would broaden their horizons. Everyone looked at Murong Qingqing. "Don't look at me. There is nothing I can do. What if we offend such an extraordinary genius?" Murong Qingqing shook her head. "Shall we climb the mountain?" Xiaodong asked. "It's just that we don't know if we can," Gu Wen said. Now that all the stone tablets were connected, they were uncertain whether they could climb the mountain. As the light appeared, the people at Heavenly Steel Mountain also retreated. Lan Qian and Yun Qi stepped back. They watched the brilliance of the stone tablets in disbelief. 72 earthly fiends have connected, and even the 36 heavenly stars have also been connected. "It's as if the mountain is doing this for the genius," said Lan Qian. "What a grand scene." Yun Qi couldn't help but exclaim. "We had to think of ways to get close to the 36 heavenly stars. But for the extraordinary genius, Heavenly Steel Mountain willingly opens up the path." With so many tablets, will the genius be able to comprehend them all? "I don't know." Lan Qian shook her head. "But an astonishing figure like the extraordinary genius should be different from others. Perhaps just looking at them once is enough for them." On the other side, Mu Qi and the others gave up the Enlightenment Spring to head for Heavenly Steel Mountain. In front of Heavenly Steel Mountain, the Enlightenment Spring was nothing. The appearance of Heavenly Steel Mountain was a rare thing, which was why some people chose the Enlightenment Spring instead. However, the mountain was right in front of them now, and they couldn't let go of such an opportunity. Mu Qi watched the brilliance of Heavenly Steel Mountain and saw that the extraordinary genius had already started climbing the mountain. He was also curious about what would happen now. Jiang Hao followed Hong Yuye and arrived at the first stone tablet. The characters "Moon in the Well" were written on the stone tablet. Wherever Jiang Hao looked, he could see countless branches of spiritual energy. It seemed that each comprehension would lead to different results. Without stopping, Hong Yuye responded to the light, and the two of them arrived at the second stone tablet. This time Jiang Hao felt a vast aura. The characters on this stone tablet read, Water Sky. Hong Yuye stepped forward. They arrived at the third stone tablet. This time it said, Mountain Beyond Mountain. The fourth stone tablet said, Outsider. The fifth stone tablet emitted a strange fragrance. They arrived at the sixth stone table. For Jiang Hao, the meaning of the sixth stone tablet was different. Due to the light, he couldn't see the people around him. It was as if he was isolated. Otherwise he would have checked if Gui was here. However, this was good. He wouldn't be exposed this way. On this stone tablet was written, With a calm heart and steady mind, you can see heaven and earth. Hong Yuye didn't stop and continued upward. Jiang Hao kept looking at the stone tablet, and the words and aura on it were constantly changing. The higher up he went, the more words there were. He even found it somewhat incomprehensible, not only the changes but even the words. It seemed that it had gone beyond what was normal. These words are no longer normal words. You need to comprehend them to truly understand. To gain opportunities from the stone tablets, you have to start from the hidden words, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao nodded. In other words, the higher he went, the more difficult it was to comprehend things. The opportunity became even rarer. Soon they reached the 72 earthly fiends. Jiang Hao could understand the earlier stone tablets, but he gained nothing from the ones afterward. Senior, what is our purpose here? He asked softly. Wherever the light connects, that's where we go, Hong Yuye said. Aren't we going to stop and comprehend? Jiang Hao asked again. If they didn't comprehend the tables, it would be like just taking a stroll through the mountain without any meaning. Hong Yuye suddenly stopped and looked at him. Don't you like to keep a low profile? She asked teasingly. Jiang Hao was speechless. He didn't think Hong Yuye was someone who kept a low profile. They arrived at the 36 heavenly stars. When Jiang Hao saw the first stone tablet, he found that it didn't have precise inscriptions. Only when they got closer did some characters slowly appear on it. Body technique, moving mountains and seas. Chapter 327, It can produce bubbles. What is this extraordinary genius planning to do? Yun Qi frowned. He's going all the way up without any pause. Is he just here for sightseeing? As the extraordinary genius ascended, the light would contract. Now the 72 earth fiends had returned to normal. They could now comprehend it properly. There's no point in speculating. Lan Qian shook her head. Senior sister, you were also paying attention to the extraordinary genius, right? Yin Qi asked. Did he pause at any stone tablet? They could only rely on the pauses of the light to determine whether he had stopped. 49th tablet, Lan Qian said. Shall we go and take a look? Yin Qi asked. Lan Qian nodded. If the extraordinary genius paused at a stone tablet, it meant there was something valuable there. I thought he might pause at the 6th stone tablet, but that's too bad. Yin Qi smiled. What's special about the 6th stone tablet? Lan Qian asked. It has something, Yin Qi said earnestly. 6 is a number I value. Special. Unfortunately, the extraordinary genius doesn't recognize its worth. By the way, if I comprehend something from the 49th stone tablet, can I exchange it with you for the contents of the 6th stone tablet, senior sister? Sure, Lan Qian said. You are truly kind, Yin Qi said with delight. As the light receded, Gu Wen and the others also arrived at Heavenly Steel Mountain. They were also curious about what this extraordinary genius was planning to do. He was just walking up the mountain as if he was there to take a stroll. Jiang Hao should be nearby. Why isn't he coming up? Xia Dong looked around. I think he's probably mining, Ding Yu said. I bet he really likes mining. I don't think he is only doing it for spirit stones at this point. It seems he really likes doing it. They didn't know what to make of that, but they didn't go looking for him. They had their own plans for coming to Heavenly Steel Mountain. Many people had already arrived at Heavenly Steel Mountain, and everyone was paying attention to the area above. They also wanted to know what the extraordinary genius would do. Heavenly Steel Mountain had appeared for him after all. Moving mountains and seas? Jiang Hao felt curious. He hadn't cultivated any body techniques so far. He hadn't had time because body techniques required a long while to learn. He had spent his time on things like the 7 forms of Heavenly Blade, Universe in a Palm, 7-star ceiling technique, light and dust technique, etc. He had also spent much of his time making talismans. He had too many things to focus on. If he added a body technique to his list of things, it would hamper his progress. Besides, he felt that he was physically strong enough. He had added a lot to his endurance and strength. Though he couldn't compare to those who specialized in body cultivation, given enough time he might be on the same level as them. Hong Yuya just glanced at it and continued upwards. Each time the extraordinary genius encountered a stone tablet, he would see something. Martial arts, techniques, body techniques, divine abilities, forging, formations, talisman crafting, alchemy, etc. Jiang Hao was interested in divine abilities and talisman making. These inscriptions were definitely not simple, especially for the divine abilities. There was one divine ability called immovable as a mountain, which was clearly a defensive ability. Once he comprehended it, he would be much safer. Unfortunately, Hong Yuya only glanced at it and continued ahead. Now, only one stone tablet was left from the 36 heavenly stars. This was the final step to the summit. If the last stone tablet was the same as the previous ones, the extraordinary genius was really just here for a stroll. He felt a little regretful. He was interested in divine abilities and talisman making, but he hadn't gained anything at all from this stroll. The divine abilities were for safety, and talisman making was for spirit stones. Both were important to him. As for alchemy and formations, he probably wouldn't get anything extraordinary out of that. He had no experience and no talent in those areas. The light flickered. Jiang Hao found himself at the peak of the mountain. He looked to the left and to the right. The blood-tide forest was right below him. He looked at the middle of the mountain where the last stone tablet stood. There were no words on it. This is a bit different. Jiang Hao frowned. This time he hadn't sensed any special aura within the stone tablet. Even with his knowledge of the nameless manual, he couldn't detect anything. It was as if that was an ordinary stone tablet. But was it really? Jiang Hao approached the stone tablet and gently grabbed it. It couldn't be moved. That was proof enough that this was not an ordinary stone tablet. Hong Yuya glanced at it. A wooden table and some chairs appeared beside her. She sat down. Let's have some tea. Huh. Jiang Hao was surprised. Senior, you came up here for tea? Jiang Hao found it hard to believe. Hong Yuya smiled. What do you think I came here for? Jiang Hao shook his head. He didn't know why she would bother to come here. She lacked nothing. She gave away techniques and abilities. Jiang Hao couldn't believe there was anything for her to comprehend. Finally, he went to the table and began to brew tea. It should be fine to drink tea here. Aside from the commotion when the mountain appeared, nothing else had happened. What kind of tea is this? Hong Yuya asked when Jiang Hao opened the bag of tea leaves. 1,000 snow flowers, Jiang Hao said. These tea leaves had cost him 200 spirit stones. It was much better than red sleeve fragrance tea. Perhaps the price for it would go up soon. Considering his current situation, he could afford tea leaves costing 250 each, but not more than that. Hong Yuya visited him 3 to 4 times a year. She consumed roughly 750 spirit stones worth of tea per year. Jiang Hao felt that he could handle that much. I don't want to drink 1,000 snow flowers today, Hong Yuya said. Then how about snow after spring? Or red sleeve fragrance? Jiang Hao asked. The former cost 50 spirit stones, and the latter cost 100 spirit stones. He still had some left. Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao with a faint smile. She was teasing him. What about September spring? September spring? Jiang Hao was stunned. Senior, Jiang Hao felt regretful. He had bought it too early. Just a few months ago you only had 2,000 spirit stones. And now you can afford September spring in just a few days, Hong Yuya smiled. Inside September spring tea, there is a self-contained system of spiritual energy, and it has vitality, like a lingering fragrance that never dissipates. Look at the 1,000 snow flowers in your hand. Jiang Hao took out the tea leaves and checked them. He found that there was indeed an additional trace of vitality on them. Fortunately, it didn't affect the tea leaves themselves. However, he now knew that red azure tea in September spring could affect other tea leaves when they were stored together. He had no choice but to take the September spring tea out. 17,500 spirit stones gone in a flash. This time he was very careful when brewing tea. He had learned a bit about it. He didn't want to waste any part of the expensive tea leaves. After a while, the fragrance of tea permeated the air, and a hint of vitality appeared in the surroundings. He poured 2 cups of tea. Hong Yuya lifted her cup and took a sip. Jiang Hao sat down and also took a sip of the tea. Instantly, spiritual energy entered his body, and his mind became clear. The cultivation techniques seemed to rotate on their own. After finishing a cup, Hong Yuya said, "Go and comprehend in front of the stone tablet. Perhaps you can gain something now." Jiang Hao didn't think too much about it. Since he was here, he wanted to gain some insights. He approached the stone tablet and noticed that there was quite a bit of dust on it. Feeling a bit conflicted, he reached out to wipe it off. But just as he wiped it twice, a purple bubble fell on the ground. Jiang Hao was speechless. Chapter 328, Preaching and Expounding. Jiang Hao was somewhat astonished as he looked at the purple bubble. He had just wiped off the dust. How was it possible that a bubble had appeared? In the past, bubbles only appeared when he handled spirit herbs or killed demonic beasts. He had never seen them appear while cleaning something. Is it just a coincidence? With doubts in his mind, he decided to wipe it again. He had some concerns. If a white bubble dropped, Hong Yuya would easily notice it. Only blue and purple bubbles would go unnoticed because they had no effect on the body. White bubbles would enhance his strength, spirit, and endurance. He could sense their effects, let alone Hong Yuya. Despite his hesitation, his hand reached out to an untouched patch of dust to wipe it off. He wiped gently. Nothing happened. He continued wiping. Twice. Thrice. 4 times. 5 times. Still nothing. It seems like it was just a coincidence. Jiang Hao felt regretful. After that, he continued wiping. This time, with a single wipe, a blue bubble dropped. Jiang Hao was taken aback but didn't think much about it. He continued wiping the stone tablet. The tablet wasn't large. It wouldn't take long to get it entirely clean. Soon enough, a blue bubble appeared again. The more he wiped, the more enthusiastic he became. Indeed, Heavenly Steel Mountain was full of opportunities. In just a few minutes, Jiang Hao had wiped the entire stone tablet clean. He obtained 10 blue bubbles and 1 purple bubble. It was equivalent to mining for a month. He had arrived here late. Jiang Hao sighed in his heart. Now he knew that the stone tablet was inherently special. Whenever there was dust, cleaning it would produce bubbles. In the future, he wanted to try wiping it again. He could use the primordial heavenly blade he had and put it near the stone tablet. Maybe having a divine item near might give him more bubbles. Jiang Hao took out a piece of cloth and prepared to wipe it again. The previous cleaning might not have been enough and he might get 1 or 2 more bubbles. If it weren't for Hong Yuya, he would have used daily appraisal to make sense of the stone tablet. However, she would sense it if he used it. Having Hong Yuya around made him feel safe, but it also restricted him. He was about to continue wiping when he felt someone staring at him. He turned to see Hong Yuya gazing intently at him. Her terrifying aura was present. Jiang Hao was speechless. With a sigh, he had to give up on further cleaning. But there were still 107 pieces left. If each one gave him 10 bubbles. Even with just 5 points, it would be enough for him to advance to Soul Ascension realm. However, he wasn't sure if he could get this close to the stone tablets. The only reason he had made it safely here was because of Hong Yuya. If it were just him, he could get close to the 72 earthly fiends. But it would attract a lot of attention. As for the 36 heavenly stars, he couldn't even get close to them. If I could clean them every time I come up here. He didn't dare to imagine. This idea was quickly dispelled when he suddenly remembered that the other stone tablets didn't have as much dust. Jiang Hao sat cross-legged in front of the stone tablet. The effect of the tea leaves was still present. Due to the appearance of blue bubbles, he had failed to notice it. Jiang Hao closed his eyes and his consciousness extended to the stone tablet. He didn't feel anything. But he could clearly sense his own strength. His condition was excellent, so Jiang Hao began to comprehend the Hongmeng Heart Sutra. At that moment, he forgot about everything else and fully circulated the Hongmeng Heart Sutra. He felt that his condition was better than ever before. It was even better than when he used the clear and pure heart ability. Could it be the effect of the tea? Jiang Hao couldn't tell and could only continue his comprehension. After some time, he felt his state elevate once again. The surrounding transformed into a starry sky as his cultivation technique circulated. It allowed him to perceive the changes in the Hongmeng Heart Sutra more profoundly. Jiang Hao devoted all his attention to it. Meanwhile, Hong Yuya, who was still sipping tea, looked at Jiang Hao and waited calmly. After some time, a faint light appeared on the stone tablet and shone upon Jiang Hao. Immediately, an outline started to emerge from the stone tablet. It was a silhouette of a sitting figure. Then the apparition began to change. Hong Yuye didn't pay much attention to this and continued sipping her tea. At the 49th stone tablet, Yun Qi and Lan Xian were still trying to understand the words. Lan Xian gave up after a short while because she couldn't comprehend anything. It seemed to be an issue of her cultivation realm that made it difficult for her to gain any insights. On the other hand, Yun Qi was absorbed in his comprehension. After some time he opened his eyes. "Did you gain some insights?" Lan Xian asked. "It's a secret technique." Hilt, Yunoi affirmed, "Tea feel like tea was forced out." Forced out? Lan Xian was puzzled. At that moment, the writing on the stone tablet suddenly disappeared. This sudden change puzzled Lan Xian. It was the first time she had seen the words disappear quite so suddenly. Then, an outline appeared which depicted a figure meditating cross-legged. "What is that?" Yin Qi asked. "It might be related to that extraordinary genius," Lan Xian said. Previously, everything had disappeared. They had assumed there was no change because of the genius. But now they began to see that everything had changed. Yun Qi stared at the outline. It seemed like the figure within the outline moved. The fingers changed and an inexplicable aura appeared around them. Yun Qi got lost in it with just one glance. He felt that the person was deducing something. His unmovable cultivation realm suddenly showed some fluctuations. At that moment, a few words flashed in his mind. It was the origin of all opportunities on Heavenly Steel Mountain. Lan Xian also sensed it. It wasn't just them. All the other stone tablets also underwent changes. The writing disappeared and outlines appeared. Gu Wen and the others looked at the stone tablets and felt as if they were observing each other's cultivation. However, it also seemed to blend with their own cultivation techniques. Regardless, they all understood one thing. This was an opportunity. Once all the stone tablets changed, a vibrant aura started to emerge from them. This vitality centered around Jiang Hao and began to spread. Flowers bloomed around him. Hong Yuye gazed at the stone tablet as if trying to see through it. It was only when the floral fragrance wafted over that she withdrew her gaze. She sipped her tea. The surroundings became lush with vegetation and flowers blossomed. This scene played out on the entire stone tablet. Yun Qi sat cross-legged and looked at the figure outlined in front of him. He was captivated. It was too powerful. He felt that some hidden mistakes and inexplicable problems were being resolved. This opportunity was simply unimaginable. The genius was cultivating, and his power was expounding and fixing mistakes in all their cultivation. It was no wonder Heavenly Steel Mountain had opened up the 36 heavenly stars and implored him to observe it. Lan Xian's cultivation level showed signs of loosening, and she was about to break through to the early stage of the Soul Ascension realm. All of this was merely because she had watched it for a short while. Gu Wen and the others watched for a while and felt uneasy. If they hadn't already advanced, this would have perfected their cultivation. They wouldn't have had to start over. Fortunately, their ascension wouldn't be too long and there was still room for recovery. Chapter 329, Blocked. Mu Qi looked at the stone tablet and felt that his body had reached its peak condition. He was quite fortunate because it wasn't time for him to advance yet. This allowed him to refine his cultivation even better. His previous visit to Heavenly Steel Mountain only granted him divine abilities. But now he was receiving corrections for his cultivation. It was as if he was listening to a powerful expert's preaching. There were no dazzling lights or any sound, just an ordinary stone tablet. Yet it brought them unparalleled opportunities. For a moment, the entire Heavenly Steel Mountain fell silent. Everyone sat in front of the stone tablets and just watched the figures depicted on them. It felt as if they were enlightened about their own cultivation methods. At that moment they all forgot about everything else. 10 days later, Qingyu arrived at Heavenly Steel Mountain once again. What's going on? How could Heavenly Steel Mountain suddenly disappear? She arrived quickly because she met senior brother Gu Cheng on her way. Otherwise, with her cultivation at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, it would have taken her a long time to reach here. I don't know. I only heard that Heavenly Steel Mountain suddenly appeared in the Blood-Tide Forest. But when I went up, I heard about the extraordinary genius, Gu Cheng said. An extraordinary genius? Is Heavenly Steel Mountain here for that genius? Qingyu found it hard to believe. Let's go up and ask. I just don't understand why it's so quiet here. Gu Qing frowned. Right? Not only here but the blood-tide forest as well. Qingyu nodded. The silence worried her. This was not normal. The two of them cautiously headed up Heavenly Steel Mountain and soon arrived at the location of the first stone tablet. As they came closer, they were astonished. Under the first stone tablet, many people were sitting cross-legged as if they were in the midst of practicing their cultivation. There were numerous Foundation Establishment and Golden Core Realm cultivators. There were even some demonic beasts. All of them were in such a state. What could make all these people behave like this? They looked at the first stone tablet and were immediately drawn into it. Without realizing it, they sat down and started to comprehend it and became part of the crowd. Jiang Hao was circulating the Hong Meng Heart Sutra. As his condition was unexpectedly good, he continued with it. Now, he had a much better understanding of the Hong Meng Heart Sutra. He ceased cultivation when he felt that it was enough. When he opened his eyes, he remembered that he was originally here for enlightenment but ended up cultivating. Finished? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao turned to look at her. She was still here, but her tea seemed to have finished. Senior, I was unable to comprehend anything. At present, he had only slightly strengthened his cultivation. If he had to face Mo Tian again, he would probably be able to go against him in direct combat in this state. Hong Yuye gazed at the stone tablet. Let's continue making tea. Jiang Hao added water to the tea leaves. The tea was too expensive to waste. He decided to take the used tea leaves back home and see if the spirit beast would want to eat them. Senior, when are you going to comprehend the stone tablet? Jiang Hao asked. Once Hong Yuye was done, he could wipe the stone tablets again for bubbles. Comprehend? Hong Yuye smiled. There is no time for that. No time? Jiang Hao was puzzled. He suddenly felt that Heavenly Steel Mountain was about to disappear. It was time to descend the mountain. It's over already? Jiang Hao found it somewhat hard to believe. It's already October, Hong Yuye said. October? Half a month has passed? Jiang Hao was surprised. He hadn't felt the time pass by so fast. He thought it had only been one night. Jiang Hao felt a bit regretful. Did that mean he couldn't wipe the stone tablets anymore? He looked at the stone tablet in front of him. He hadn't wiped it for over 10 days. There should be dust on it. Hong Yuye drank her tea and got up. Let's go down the mountain. Jiang Hao was reluctant. There was something he was quite curious about. Did Heavenly Steel Mountain appear here just for you, Senior? Of course not. Heavenly Steel Mountain is not that simple. When you cultivated in front of this stone tablet, the tablet reflected your figure. In simple terms, Heavenly Steel Mountain has carved your name here, said Hong Yuye. Carved my name? Jiang Hao felt anxious. It won't affect you keeping a low profile if that's what you're worried about, said Hong Yuye with a smile. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. As long as there was no danger, it was fine. However, he was still curious why Heavenly Steel Mountain hadn't carved her name here instead. Just as he was about to ask, Jiang Hao noticed disdain on Hong Yuye's face. She did not attempt to conceal it, so Jiang Hao easily noticed it. He was puzzled. However, it was better not to ask about it. Hong Yuye prepared to leave the mountain. Even if Jiang Hao was reluctant, he had no choice but to follow. He could only wait for another opportunity in the future. He didn't know if Heavenly Steel Mountain would summon him again. They instantly appeared at the foot of the mountain. Hong Yuye disappeared after that. She didn't leave any words of advice. Jiang Hao felt uneasy. Hong Yuye always at least threatened him before she left. This time she said nothing. After he came down, many people also left Heavenly Steel Mountain. He sensed the people, so he didn't linger around. With only a few months remaining, he decided to find a new cave to mine in. Moreover, he might encounter Heavenly Steel Mountain again and perhaps could go up to clean the stone tablets again. Jiang Hao raised his cultivation to display the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. If he displayed his primordial spirit realm and someone in Soul Ascension realm found him, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. Besides, he was not their enemy. However, he hadn't traveled far when he met two people. One had surpassed the primordial spirit realm, while the other seemed to be at the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. There was something strange about them. Jiang Hao didn't pay too much attention and left quickly. But even after he changed direction, the person appeared in front of him again. Jiang Hao's heart sank. He was being targeted. "Hello, seniors," said Jiang Hao in greeting. He had no choice. Are you Jiang Hao from the Heavenly Note sect? Lan Qian asked. They had come down quite early and just happened to see Jiang Hao on the way. Yun Qi couldn't recognize him, but Lan Qian had seen him once before. Who are you, seniors? Jiang Hao braced himself. He could sense that the woman in front of him had a slight fluctuation in her aura. It was highly likely due to her recent advancement. As for the man beside her, he looked like he was in the middle of the primordial spirit realm, but his spiritual aura extended from him and intertwined with the surrounding spiritual energy. It seemed like he was far beyond the primordial spirit realm. They were hiding their cultivation realms. When facing such strong experts, he didn't know if he could flee. Chapter 330, Mining Again. The appearance of these two people made Jiang Hao uneasy. Their strength was beyond his imagination. Fortunately, he still had the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman and the golden rings. If they made a move, he would escape. We are disciples of the Divine Corpse sect. I'm Yun Qi and this is my senior Lan Qian, Yun Qi said with a smile. You don't have to worry. We just want to ask you some questions. If you're afraid, you can leave, Lan Qian said. Seniors, it is an honor for me to be able to answer any questions you have, Jiang Hao said politely. Divine Corpse sect. He recognized them. So, these people were disciples of the Divine Corpse sect who were at the Heavenly Note sect. One of them seemed to be in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm but was comparable to Shang'an in aura. Was she Gue? Jiang Hao felt anxious. He hadn't expected to find Gue so quickly. If there was a call for gathering right now, he would be in trouble. I heard that the human Yuan formation underwent a major change before in the blood-tide forest, Lan Qian said. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Can you tell us about the general situation there? Lan Qian asked. Jiang Hao roughly explained the recent incidents in the blood-tide forest. He told them about the appearance of a terrifying aura, the mine collapsing, and finally the vortex. What was the source of this disturbance? Yin Qi asked. The Enlightenment Spring, Jiang Hao said. How did you manage to leave from there? Lan Qian asked. A senior warned me about it, Jiang Hao said. He mentioned Shang'an and that he was helping that senior with mining in the cave. Shang'an? Where is he now? Lan Qian asked. He left, so the mining work also stopped. Did he make you mine for free? Yin Qi asked. Well, Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment. He did give me some spirit stones. How much did he give you? Yin Qi asked. The two fell silent. It seemed that they were both trying to analyze Jiang Hao's words. However, they didn't delve deeper into the matter. They were just curious, and they knew someone in the Foundation establishment realm was here from Heavenly Note sect. So they sought him out. 8,500 is not a small amount. Where are you planning to go now? Yin Qi asked. It's not safe to carry spirit stones on me, so I wanted to get away from here as soon as possible, Jiang Hao truthfully said. Yin Qi laughed. Does he really think 1,500 spirit stones were a lot? It wasn't a big amount, but people might assume he had more and might target him. It was understandable that he wanted to get away. There was also a possibility that he was lying when he had much more than 1,500 spirit stones. Yin Qi didn't mind. Mining is actually quite lucrative, isn't it? Yun Qi glanced at Lan Qian. Senior sister, let's stay here and mine as well. I am not staying here and digging in a cave. Lan Qian shook her head. Me neither, but there's someone here who can mine, right? Yun Qi glanced at Jiang Hao. Stay here and help us mine. I'll take 40% of the earnings. Senior sister will take 42. You can have 20% of the income. As for selling the ores, we'll handle it. I'll buy any excess at a low price. How about? You don't need to worry about your safety, said Lan Qian. It wasn't like Jiang Hao could refuse. Of course. Thank you very much, seniors. He hesitated. 20% is already a lot for me. Our 20% was too much. It made him feel unsafe. 20% isn't that much, Yun Qi said as they walked ahead. You can try to save up and buy a heaven rejuvenation pill. In a few years you can advance to the golden core realm. Lan Qian didn't say anything. It seemed like she didn't care much about it. Jiang Hao felt that they were extremely wealthy. Shortly after, they arrived at the entrance of the mine. Is there anything special about this mine? Lan Qian asked. There are some peculiarities. Jiang Hao told her what he knew. He explained the use of the rooster. Space peculiarities? Yin Qi was curious. What does it look like after the change? Have you been inside? Some people did go inside. They said they were chased by demonic beasts. Occasionally they heard human voices, but they didn't know what was being said, Jiang Hao said. Forget it. Let's not make things complicated. Let's just mine, Yin Qi said. Jiang Hao took a hoe and entered the mine once again. It felt strange. He thought he was going to escape. Unexpectedly he was back here again. Although his share seemed to be less when compared to the other two, it was actually a lot more than before. Previously the earnings were divided among 6 people. So he had gotten less than 20% of the income. Now, with only 3 people, 20% was quite a lot. It was already early October and there were about 3 more months left. Jiang Hao checked his interface. Already over 80? At this rate, he might reach 100 points soon even if he couldn't go to Heavenly Steel Mountain again. If I can accumulate 8 to 10 points a month, it will be quite high after 3 months. However, I would still need to go back to advance to the next stage. Jiang Hao was delighted. Even if he had to return to advance, he didn't mind. It was a step closer to becoming stronger. By surpassing the late stage of the primordial spirit realm, he would be on par with Manlong. He could face Manlong head-on with that kind of power. After returning, he could also extend the seal on Bai Yi to make it last longer. However, he needed to hide from Gui at any cost. Fortunately, he had wiped away all his traces. The universe in a palm left no trace after being used. Otherwise, it would have been dangerous. Jiang Hao began mining. This time, there were no spatial fluctuations. Although he didn't understand why, it was a good thing. Jiang Hao didn't go out of the mine except to deliver the ores. He didn't even know what was happening outside. What has happened? Jiang Hao was surprised. It had been a month and this had never happened before. It made him feel uneasy. He turned to look at the rooster. He was stunned. The rooster was fast asleep. Does it not sense any changes while sleeping? Jiang Hao couldn't believe it. But soon he saw that the rooster showed signs of spiritual energy fluctuation. This was a sign of a breakthrough. It's trying to advance. Jiang Hao was taken aback. Without saying a word, he picked up the rooster and the ores and prepared to leave the cave. As soon as he had walked a little distance away, he noticed that the mine had changed. The path he had come from had disappeared. Chapter 331. I am very rich. Yun Qi touched the sealed entrance to the cave. We can't get in. This cave is very special. But it seems Jiang Hao couldn't come out, or maybe he planned to use this mine to escape from us. Lan Qian stood beside him. She frowned. That shouldn't be the case. He has already reached the peak of the Foundation establishment realm, so it's even more dangerous for him inside. It appears that he didn't manage to come out in time. What a pity. I mined some ores and planned to share it with him. There was quite a lot. Yun Qi sighed and reluctantly picketed the extra spirit stones. Let's wait a bit. Maybe he will come out when the spatial fluctuations disappear, Lan Qian said. Yun Qi nodded. He didn't mind waiting. He glanced at Lan Qian. When will you teach me the content of the 6th stone tablet? Before we leave, Lan Qian said. All right, then let's continue mining here for now. This is quite interesting, Yun Qi said with a smile. Who are you selling the ores to? Lan Qian asked curiously. To the ones in Soul Ascension cultivators. Who else would be willing to make trades below the Soul Ascension realm cultivators? They are all so poor, Yun Qi said helplessly. I find that even they are all so poor. If they are on the path to making progress in their cultivation, you won't find many people with spirit stones, Lan Qian said. Cultivation is an extremely costly affair, and spirit stones are meant to be earned and used to enhance oneself and become stronger. If one's cultivation is not sufficient, everything is just useless. I am different. I am very rich. Yun Qi chuckled. Senior sister, do you want to follow me? I'll take you to enjoy all the food and drinks. Lan Qian glanced at him. She didn't reply and just sat cross-legged to begin cultivating while waiting for the mine to return to normal. Jiang Hao walked into an unfamiliar mine and noticed that the stone walls here were reinforced with bricks. It looked more like a man-made structure than a naturally occurring cave. The light was also different, but he couldn't determine the location. He was only certain of one thing: there was danger here. Soon he encountered some demonic beasts in the mine. They were entirely black with sharp claws and fangs and at the peak stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Instead of confronting them, Jiang Hao chose to hide and wait for them to leave. If they were in the primordial spirit realm, he would have attacked them. He could get some blue bubbles that way. However, with the beasts at Foundation Establishment realm, he couldn't even get white bubbles. Jiang Hao continued to explore the passage and search for an exit from this place. He had no intention of fully exploring this place. It looked dangerous and unnatural. He wanted to leave as quickly as possible. At this point, he had already sealed away his rooster. If it started crowing, it would be quite troublesome. He had evaded the beasts a few times along the way. Suddenly, he heard footsteps from another passage nearby. He lowered his head and remained quiet. If the person approached him, he would have to take action. The half-moon blade was already in his hand. When the person got close, he would decide whether to kill them or not. Thud, thud. The footsteps were getting closer. However, just as the figure was about to arrive, Jiang Hao heard a sound from another direction. The person stopped, said something and turned and left. Jiang Hao let out a sigh of relief. Based on the spiritual energy fluctuations around him, the person should be at the peak of the golden core realm. He couldn't understand what he had said to the other person. It sounded too complicated. He could only remember some of their words because the person had seemed surprised. Jiang Hao was now curious. He waited for a while until the people were gone for good. Only then did Jiang Hao start to look for a way out. After all, with different languages, there would surely be differences in their methods as well. It would be best not to engage in conflicts. Jiang Hao used a notebook to write down the words he had just heard. The pronunciations were somewhat similar. However, he could understand it because the words remained in his mind. He was just worried that he might forget it someday, so he wrote it down. Pai Tiao Gu Xing Qiu. He looked at the words. They didn't make sense at all. If he could figure out the language, he might be able to find out which place the mine was connected to. Although it was not useful to him just yet, the information might come in handy at the next gathering. Afterward, Jiang Hao kept evading the demonic beast. He tried to find a way out. After about half a month, he saw a faint light in the passage. Once he confirmed that there was no problem, he stepped through and returned to the passage. Back already? Once he confirmed there was no problem, he released the rooster. It was still asleep. Its advancement was taking longer than expected. He checked to make sure no traces of the universe in a palm were left behind. After that, he walked out of the cave. He saw two people outside the entrance of the cave. Yunqi and Lan Qian. You are safe. Yunqi was somewhat surprised. I was mining and didn't pay attention to the changes around me. When I finally noticed it, I didn't dare to act recklessly, so I managed to come out safely, Jiang Hao said. He also put the rooster aside. Many demonic beasts have been hiding lately. It seems that many of them are going to advance, Yunqi said. Jiang Hao felt strange. Why were so many demonic beasts advancing at the same time? He didn't ask that aloud. After that, Jiang Hao handed over the ores and obtained 4,000 spirit stones. So much, Jiang Hao said. It was more than what he got before. The ores he had were accumulated from previous mining. The stock was depleting. He would soon run out. Keep mining. There are still 2 months left. When you get out of here, you will still have spirit stones to spare after buying a heavenly rejuvenation pill, Yunqi said with a smile. Let's wait until the rooster wakes up, said Lan Qian. Yes, senior sister. You are quite attentive. Yunqi smiled. Jiang Hao thanked her too. That day he went out and returned with a new rooster. Then he went back to the mine. Yunqi and Lan Qian were stunned. Why did he have to be so passionate about mining? I believe what he said before might be true. Perhaps he received some spirit stones. Otherwise, why would he be so willing to mine? Yunqi said jokingly. Jiang Hao's enthusiasm was beneficial to them as well. They would earn several thousand spirit stones this way. Some people are watching us, Lan Qian said. They are nobodies. Senior sister, don't worry about them. You can continue to cultivate. Leave everything to me. In the entire blood-tide forest, I'm invincible as long as the extraordinary genius doesn't arrive, said Yunqi. Lan Qian glanced at him but didn't say anything. At this moment, Jiang Hao felt a lingering fear. He had triggered something at Heavenly Steel Mountain because of which all this was happening. Even beasts were trying to advance. I should find time to appraise Yunqi. Half a month later, the rooster crowed. Jiang Hao walked out of the mine. It was now early December, and there were at most 1.5 months left until the boundary to the corpse realm closed. Chapter 332. Even soul ascension cultivators are defeated. When he came out of the mine, Jiang Hao saw Lan Qian cultivating at a distance. Yun Qi half reclined on a tree. A woman was kneeling under the tree. Jiang Hao noticed that the woman's cultivation was higher than primordial, spirit realm. The woman looked terrified. She seemed unable to move. Do we look like an easy game to you? You, a late-stage soul ascension realm cultivator, dare to come here? Yun Qi sat up and looked at the woman in front of him. How does it feel to see your cultivation drop bit by bit? It cost me quite a few spirit stones. I've been earning for so long, but it's not even enough for the small change. Will you compensate me for that? Please, senior, forgive me. I have a magic treasure. I can give that to you as compensation, the woman pleaded. Then Jiang Hao saw the woman's cultivation drop to the peak of the primordial spirit realm. A curse? Jiang Hao glanced at Yun Qi and then activated his divine ability. Soon he received the feedback. Jiang Hao was surprised. The information he got was limited. It was much less than what he got from Shang'an. Wiped and controlled. Does that mean the main person behind this isn't here? Jiang Hao wondered. At least I can be sure that Gui's real name is Baizhu. I need to be more careful. Although the information he received was limited, it was still valuable. However, he couldn't say this at the next gathering. The woman handed Yun Qi a magical treasure and he let her go. After dealing with the woman, Yun Qi approached Jiang Hao and handed him 4,000 spirit stones. Jiang Hao thanked him. He had received 8,000 spirit stones from him in total. Combined with what he had from before, it came up to 47,000 spirit stones. He could soon catch up to the loss he had suffered from buying the September spring tea. In the past few days he felt that his understanding of the Hong Meng Heart Sutra had become clearer. He didn't know if it was because of the tea or Heavenly Steel Mountain. Maybe it was both. So far, the changes he observed were that his strength had increased slightly, but his cultivation realm had not changed. In addition, the purple spiritual energy on his body had become denser. His techniques were also more effective. For example, the sealing technique, which previously required the same level of strength as the enemy to inflict severe damage. Now he could use it on anyone unprepared. However, it would still be broken after a while, but he could keep reinforcing it. After handing the other ores to Yun Qi, Jiang Hao took a break. He had to wait for the mine to reopen. Recently there had been a change. The mine opened for days on end, but it took longer when it was finally closed. This time it would probably take half a month to open. Since he couldn't mine, he might as well try doing something else. Jiang Hao looked at Yun Qi. Senior, has Heavenly Steel Mountain appeared anywhere again? After the Heavenly Steel Mountain disappeared, he had not received any new summons. In theory, Heavenly Steel Mountain should appear somewhere again. You should ask senior sister about it. Yun Qi glanced at Lan Qian. Lan Qian had finished her cultivation just now. She looked at them. In theory it should appear again, but because of the extraordinary genius, it has disappeared. Currently there is no news of it appearing anywhere. It might not appear again. What? It won't appear again? Jiang Hao was surprised. He wanted to ask about the extraordinary genius, but he didn't want to ask too many questions. It might annoy them. He would ask Zhuang Yuzhen when he returned to his sect. Senior sister, what did the extraordinary genius do at Heavenly Steel Mountain that time? Yin Qi asked. Good question. Jiang Hao felt that Gui was good at asking questions. He reached the summit. I think he was trying to comprehend the highest stone tablet. It is said that only a very few people have been able to approach the highest stone tablet in the history of the Divine Corpse sect. I heard that the highest stone tablet is blank, but he still comprehended something from it. I'm not sure. Jiang Hao hadn't comprehended anything. Compared to the people here, his talent was indeed lacking. But he didn't mind. If he continued to hide in the Heavenly Note sect, he could steadily become stronger. He didn't need to compare himself to anyone. However, the fact that Heavenly Steel Mountain wouldn't appear again made Jiang Hao feel disappointed. He hadn't wiped off the dust from all the tablets yet. He was looking forward to coming back here again. Next time he would visit Heavenly Steel Mountain and spend the rest of the time mining. Hao stayed in the same place to cultivate for a month before the mine reopened. Since the appearance of Heavenly Steel Mountain, the changes in the mine were very strange. It was completely different from before. You can only mine for 10 days. Use the remaining time to try to communicate with the human Yuan formation. It will be convenient for your departure, Lan Qian said calmly. Jiang Hao nodded and thanked her. Afterward, Jiang Hao entered the mine once again. Allying with the two wealthy seniors proved quite beneficial. He could get a good share of spirit stones. He just hoped they wouldn't turn against him at the last moment. Jiang Hao had already appraised Lan Qian. She was an ordinary disciple of the Divine Corpse sect and was in the middle stage of the Soul Ascension realm. She was reserved in nature, but she didn't really have any intention of robbing him. There was also nothing threatening about Gui or Yun Qi. This time he couldn't mind for 10 days. On the 8th day the rooster crowed. Jiang Hao glanced at his interface. What a pity. He didn't want to advance in this place and alert others. So, it was just as well. After going back he could try to advance within a week. Then he would go to Baiyi. However, he couldn't do it right after going out. He needed to delay it a bit. Yin Shi took the oars. There's no time to sell them. Everyone is getting ready to go out. I'll take the remaining oars. You can still get 2,000 for these. Jiang Hao thanked him and accepted the spirit stones. He was delighted. He had earned 10,000 during this period. It was a lot. He had a total of 49,000 spirit stones on him. He was almost about to reach 50,000. Unfortunately, when he returned, it would be the start of a new year. It would be the time for another incarnation of the peach tree. These spirit stones couldn't be kept for too long. Do you know how to communicate with the human yuan formation? Lan Qian asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. In that case you can stay here for the remaining days. No one dares to approach this place in the blood-tide forest, Yun Qi said with a smile. Jiang Hao thanked them. He had wanted to find another place but it seemed that he couldn't do it now. After that, Yun Qi and Lan Qian left. For them, they were just helping someone at the Foundation Establishment realm and earning some spirit stones in the process. The two arrived in a secluded area of the blood-tide forest. Senior sister, let's part ways here, Yun Qi said. Lan Qian nodded. By the way, this is for you. Yun Qi gave her a blood-red bead. This thing can save your life and it's very lethal. Let me put it this way, even the elders who brought you to the Heavenly Note sect wouldn't dare to touch it. Oh, and there's this too. Yun Qi took out a jade pendant. Keep this, senior sister. I have some people in the south and east regions. If you feel like running a WAV 1 DAV, you can find me there. Lan Qian was speechless. Chapter 333, Home has changed after being away for a year. Jiang Hao looked at the deserted mine. He felt a certain connection with this mine. Then, he drew a formation on the ground to communicate with the human yuan formation so that he could leave without any problems. This time he had gained a lot from this trip. He had even discovered that cleaning or wiping ancient artifacts could produce bubbles. After returning, he could use his primordial heavenly blade to conduct experiments. He couldn't leave these artifacts lying around for too long, as it would be easy for Hong Yuye to find out. He didn't feel secure without having some hidden cards. Soon he finished drawing the formation. However, when he tried to activate the formation to connect with the human yuan formation, the formation suddenly sensed his presence. This surprised Jiang Hao. Is it already connected? For a moment, Jiang Hao felt that he only needed a thought to connect to the formation. What's going on? He checked the formation under his feet again, but it wasn't activated. Puzzled, he erased it. However, he could still connect with the human yuan formation and felt that he could leave ahead of time. How is this possible? Jiang Hao was puzzled. He quickly thought of Heavenly Steel Mountain. This was definitely because he had left his mark on Heavenly Steel Mountain. It seems that leaving a mark is equivalent to securing a way out. If he encountered danger, he could leave the corpse realm immediately. He felt that it was a little useless because he had discovered this only at the end. Jiang Hao drew the formation again and activated it once more. He pretended that he was using the formation to connect with the human yuan formation. Then he waited for the passage to open. He was curious about what would happen if he stayed here. Jiang Hao wondered if he could use the golden rings to leave the corpse realm. After hesitating for a moment, he left a ring in the corpse realm. He wanted a way to sneak into the corpse realm in the future. If he couldn't enter, he would have to ask someone for help to retrieve the ring. He had already used 4 rings. He needed to be careful when using them. Jiang Hao had given some rings to Xiao Li and the spirit beast uselessly. He regretted it a little. In the following days, the blood-tide forest was exceptionally quiet. On the last day, Jiang Hao felt that the passage was about to open. At this time, the 2 roosters kept staring at him. Jiang Hao felt helpless. He couldn't possibly raise the roosters. He had the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman and the golden rings. Each of them had spatial fluctuations. If he kept the roosters, he would be discovered. He scattered some food, responded to the human yuan formation, turned into a beam of light and soared into the sky. At this moment he saw countless beams of light shooting toward the horizon. Many people were in the blood-tide forest. Occasionally he could see some familiar faces such as Gu Wen and the others. Jiang Hao felt that he was lucky to have gotten a chance to cooperate with these people. Otherwise he wouldn't have earned so many spirit stones. And there were also quite a few spirit herbs. He could still sell some of them. He could accumulate up to 50,000. Soon Jiang Hao left the human yuan formation. When he stepped out, he was beside the corpse realm flower. Mu Qi and Gu Cheng and Qing Yu were also nearby. Gu Cheng and Mu Qi's cultivation was about to break through. Qing Yu had advanced to the primordial spirit realm. Gu Cheng smiled. It seems that everyone has gained quite a bit from the trip. I was just lucky, Mu Qi said. Jiang Hao lowered his head and didn't say anything. However, he felt that Mu Qi's breakthrough was only held back because there wasn't much time. Otherwise, he could have advanced to the primordial spirit realm. It had only been a year since he broke through to the peak of the Golden Core realm. Mu Qi had an ancient inheritance, so there was no need to rush. You've broken through, junior brother Jiang? Mu Qi asked politely. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. I encountered Heavenly Steel Mountain. If junior brother Han knew about this, he would definitely work harder. Mu Qi chuckled. Jiang Hao was speechless. Poor junior brother Han. Now that everyone is back, you should keep an eye on the corpse realm flower. We're going back to report to the sect, Qing Yu said. When the passage closes, the flower will turn into a seed. Planted a few months before the next opening. Mu Qi thanked her. Although the people of the Divine Corpse sect couldn't take seeds out, they advised them to take care of it. After Gu Cheng and the others left, Jiang Hao also bid farewell to Mu Qi. He noticed that Miao Tinglian was coming over, and it would be awkward if he stayed. Mu Qi smiled and nodded. Although he had many questions to ask, he refrained from doing so. Leaving so early, junior brother Jiang? Miao Tinglian greeted Jiang Hao with a smile. Jiang Hao just bowed to greet her and then went back to his house. After a long time in the corpse realm, he felt a bit unaccustomed to the things around here. He needed to take out some spirit herbs and store them in the spirit herb garden. The spirit herbs he had were not of high quality, so they might not fetch him much. Moreover, he was at the peak of Foundation Establishment realm for all intents and purposes. Only one step away from reaching the Golden Core. NAD1H1. On his way back, he happened to see a dispirited man walking on the road. Jiang Hao recognized him. He was Feng Yang. The one from the cafeteria where Jiang Hao paid for extra food for Shaoli. Junior brother Feng? Jiang Hao called out. Feng Yang saw Jiang Hao and he looked delighted to see him. Jiang Hao assumed that Shaoli had caused trouble again. Senior brother Jiang, you're back already? Feng Yang asked excitedly. Jiang Hao nodded. What's wrong? Did Shaoli cause trouble again? Not exactly, Feng Yang said. It's just that junior sister seems to have a much bigger appetite now, and the previous amount of food can't satisfy her. But if we don't give her enough to eat, she will cause trouble in the cafeteria. So, for the past 6 months, I've been covering up for her expenses. Feng Yang looked at Jiang Hao expectantly. How much more spirit stones are needed? I can't let you spend money on such matters. About 8 or 9 spirit stones a month. Feng Yang dared not say more than that. For a total of 6 months, right? Jiang Hao gave him 60 spirit stones. This is too much. It's necessary, Jiang Hao said politely. After all, Shaoli was an outer sect disciple, and the reason Feng Yang was willing to cover for her for half a year was because of Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao walked with Feng Yang because he was going in the same direction. On the way he asked about Shaoli and how she was doing. Apart from having a bigger appetite, Shaoli hadn't done anything to anger others. But there were always minor incidents with her since she wasn't very obedient. Jiang Hao also asked about the spirit beast. Feng Yang had only good things to say about the beast. After making sure that nothing troublesome had come to pass, Jiang Hao bid farewell to Feng Yang and returned to his courtyard. As soon as he entered, he frowned. He looked around but didn't see anything else. Why was there suddenly so much spiritual energy? That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.